Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I'm, of course, Jimmy. And this is, well, I've normally got a show title to talk to you about. This is Tight Lines, I'm telling you, because I know I'm 2 minutes late, technically speaking, I think. But it were either that or wet myself. We have just been out for Layman Dave's 40th birthday. And originally this was going to go on at 8:30. But, you know, you're with your family, aren't you? And can't sacrifice that time. So been great to catch up with everybody, but it did leave me sort of chasing my tail, trying to get back in time. And yeah, walking through the door at 9 o'clock, I thought, can I either go straight on now and wet myself on stream, or I can actually relieve myself and then come on and have a decent chat with you all. So how are you all doing? This is now the first step of getting our heads round what has happened. We sort of did a bit of a debrief on 90 after 90, which unbelievably is our most viewed video ever. 20,000 views. Now look, my maths isn't brilliant, but we actually managed to get over the 8,000 subscriber mark just after that stream had ended, the day after Wembley Way, if you like. So thank you to everybody that continues to support the channel. And it's just incredible, really. I can't express what it means to me. But that does mean that 12, and my maths aren't great, but 12,000 people who watch that stream are not subscribed. So there may well be a higher ceiling than some people think for this sort of content. And I know they're from rival teams, and probably some were just dipping in to enjoy our misery. But I must say, a lot of the comments were very kind. I haven't had a chance to sort of properly go through them all. I just get to glance at them at the moment. What I have been doing today is, and it's taken me most of the day, is editing down Ramble on the Road. Now, it is a tale, actually, and this is just me randomly going off like. But I'm editing Ramble on the Road, and that will be going out probably tomorrow, if I'm honest, on Behind the Ramble. It's the Wembley edition, obviously, so may well be very sought after, and it should, because, spoiler alert, no match footage, or very limited match footage, but it is a real encapsulation of the day itself and how good it was. And yes, there's disappointment at the end, obviously. Spoiler alert, Sunderland beat us, but it was such a great day, and you feel all the build-up and the atmosphere. I know people who weren't able to attend and are in our platinum groups are chomping at bit to just try and get to see some of it, and it's brilliant. As part of that, and this shows how good my boy James from Matilda Shakes is, and he'll laugh at this. So I have got an agreement with Matilda Shakes. Every bit of licensed music on YouTube, you may or may not know that once you monetize the video, so you've got an option on YouTube to say, you know, I'm going to have ads on this video, and they're going to do an ad share and things like that. And that's how creators like myself get paid. Or that's just one element of how we get paid. So you can't have any copyrighted content on there. So I've got an agreement with Matilda Shakes and their record company. It's an official agreement, like, that I can use their songs, and we sort of try and mutually help each other out as, you know, two, you know, growing businesses, if you like, for want of a better phrase of putting it. So every Matilda Shakes song that goes on a Ramble video, whether it's live or recorded, is all above board. Great, no problem. I carefully did my edit so that at Box Park, we didn't have too much of the, you know, licensed songs on in the background. So I've had to cut a bit of footage out that were really good footage as well, because it would have, for one like 10-second clip of, I don't know, John Denver playing in background, then it will zap all your money from your stream. So, and if you're getting 20,000 eyes on it, like we got on the last one, it's a huge hit to take. So I'd done a really careful edit, and the only things that I left in was James Matilda Shakes set on the on the Ramble coach on the way down because he did a brilliant acoustic set. And what he did was he did two of his own songs, Fever Dream, which is the intro song to the Ramble, Adrenaline. The adrenaline is kicking in. I think we had it as an intro song to the Ramble for a little while, and that will be coming back to the channel as I revamp my intros over the summer and outros. But the reason I'm going on this long spiel is he covered Dakota by the Stereophonics, and it was that good, just him and his guitar, that I have got a copyright notice for Dakota from the Stereophonics saying that if you're going to use one of our songs, we're going to take that money from you, from that video. So the Stereophonics, because it's an automated thing, it's not like Kelly Jones has been sat watching the Ramble and right, we're having that. YouTube can pull out lyrics or tunes, and if they can match it up to a song that's somebody else's, then they will allocate the money for that video to that artist, which is fair, and it's their work. So they thought it was a proper acoustic set of Dakota from the Stereophonics, which I thought was unreal, really. So, and I can see him posting in our WhatsApp group now. So, yeah, I just thought that were a nice tale. So today, what are we looking at today? We're starting to get our heads around what it's like to be a Blade, unfortunately. Have I not got oh no, I ain't got a stream on X for this. Let me just change that. Because a lot of people tend to join on X at the minute. I'd prefer it if people joined on YouTube because then you can subscribe. But yeah, we've just jumped on X as well as a live platform. So there may be some more people spilling in. So what we're talking about today is obviously the rumours have started, aren't they? And if we'd have gone up, then it's exciting rumours. It's how can we strengthen and how can we keep all of our best players and then build on that. But because we haven't gone up and we're in the Championship for another year, yes, we've got a really strong squad at Championship level currently, as we know. Certainly in certain departments, I think we're very strong, goalkeeper being one. But we're also susceptible now to being picked off. There's already rumours about Vinny Souza, loads of rumours about Gosema. Connor's done about 15 videos on him. People will be circling around Michael Cooper. You've got to think James Trafford's going to go. Mellier's useless. So they might be sniffing around. So really, what I wanted to do was, and this could be a series we look at doing over the summer in terms of long lists and short lists and targets and things like that. But I wanted to focus firstly, if we're going to do that, and we might not, but if we're going to do that, we're going to build from the back and we're going to go with the goalkeeper first and what's happening with this goalkeeper situation. So, you know, I'm not a big stat man. To be honest, unless it's explained really well by somebody quite interesting, I think stats can easily put me to sleep, if I'm honest. And I'm certainly not claiming to be someone interesting that can make stats interesting. So I have got a couple of stats involved in here, but I haven't gone the whole hog. And they're on screen, so they're easy enough to follow and compare. So what I'm going to do today, we're going to look at all scenarios, really. I want to know, do you think we'll lose Michael Cooper? And if we do, which I think is worst case scenario, because I think we need to keep him and build around him. But what do we do if that happens? Who are the most suitable replacements for Michael Cooper? The other conversations around the goalkeepers are, do we need a better backup? Or do we need an additional backup to Adam Davies so that Luke Faxon can go out and get some minutes? I think that's a reasonable question to ask as well. So that's what we're going to look at in terms of what we can do with the goalkeeper department this summer. And it's a very early conversation to have, but it's just to sort of wet the whistle as to some of the conversations that we'll be having on the channel. Let me just, before I jump into that, I'm going to jump into some comments so I don't get too far behind. Sky says, hi, Jimmy. Great to see you and the Ramble family, including the elusive Aunt Sal on Saturday. Shame about the result, but hey ho, we go again. Yes, it was great to meet you too, Sky. Thank you for that. We'll see you at that Airbnb. Keeper situation. I think as we have a long-term contract on Coops, I think he'll stay. But everyone has a price. Be hard to turn down 35 million. Sorry, it's just flashed you. We could get a decent going rate for a good Prem keeper. We could get a decent keeper, Hamza and Tanganga for that. I think we're hung up on a couple of names, aren't we? I think as a fan base we are, because Tanganga were linked previously. I don't think we get Tanganga, I'll be honest. And there's loads of conversations that we're going to be able to, and everybody that knows, if you've been a long time fan of the channel or follower of the channel, I love transfer talk and speculation and stuff, but I do think there's some links that are just layups, like Hamza. I don't think we'll sign Hamza. I might be wrong, but where do we play him if we sign him? Because he's not a legit right back, is he? Would you not, if we sign Jimmy Dunn, which I'm confident that we will, and we play him at right back, there's no need to sign Hamza. Because yes, we signed him as a Vinny Souza either replacement or backup, I think was probably the best way to put it. I think that's the reason he came in originally to United. Didn't quite work for him in the middle, did it? But played very well at right back. But if you got Jimmy Dunn there, and I know Jimmy Dunn can play inside, but I'm not convinced Hamza's a layup either. We may be looking at completely different faces other than Jimmy Dunn, obviously, this summer. So it'd be interesting. Pete says, hi, Jimmy. Got over it now. We're Blades, and it's never straightforward for us. Time to move on, and looking forward to the transfer picks of Mountain and Dave the Nose and yourself. Take two. Thanks, Blades Ramble. Thank you, mate. Thank you for being here. D-Dar Drugi says, all right, Jimmy, Paul Eaton sang Caravan of Love on Sunday night. Told you it would make a class song just as it is. Up the Blades and up the Ramble. Yeah, I don't know if I get that, if I'm honest, but love that song. In fact, we've been singing it tonight. We've been out for my brother's birthday, and we've been having a bit. Myself, Andy the Blade, Eki Out, Sal, Lehman, Dave, Mrs. Ramble, Ramble Juniors. Yeah, we're all there singing away to a bit of Paul Eaton, Beautiful South. Steve says, can anyone explain when Anel was being treated for the head injury, why they weren't screaming to Chris to get holding on? Would have prevented us from going down to 10. I don't think he wanted to bring Holding on. And this is just my opinion, but I don't think he wanted to bring Holding on because he kept him off, didn't he? He kept him off and he didn't put him on. Even when we brought Anel off, it was Sariki that came on. So maybe he was just making his mind up as to what we were doing. Maybe he were giving Anel 5 minutes to just see if he could carry on. I don't understand what's happened with Rob Holding. I just think it's disappointing more than anything else. Dino says, I've not got over Saturday's result and the manner in which we lost, and now I feel sick to the stomach that our players are linked with everyone every time I open X. I've not really been on much. I've been busy with the family the last couple of days, which has been really good for me, to be honest. I'm trying not to focus on what could have been. I think that is where you sort of start to go down. I understand a lot of people are doing that as well, but then when you see your own players being linked away, but it's natural, isn't it? I think, Sidney Peck's been linked away, Ryan O'Neill's been linked away. There'll be a lot of this throughout the summer. And if it happens, it happens. And I think if you look at every case on its own merit, yes, they're very good players for us, but I don't think losing one or two of them is the worst thing in the world, if I'm honest. Even Burrows' name has been mentioned. I'll be amazed if we lose Burrows, and I'll be shocked if we lose Cooper. In fact, let's start to get into it, because I can come back to your comments at any time, and we can make it a more generic video, but we'll just test the waters really and what you think about this. So I have done a little bit of work, and I don't think Michael Cooper goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my Michael Cooper replacements till the end, because ultimately they're better players than the ones I'm going to mention as backup options here. So it sort of builds naturally anyway to that. So at the moment, I'm going to give you the way the land lies currently. We've got Adam Davies, as we know. He's 32. Currently playing for Sheffield United. I've given his 21-22 stats here for Stoke, because that's the last time he had an half decent run in a side. Conceded 10, 5 clean sheets that season. Save percentage was high, 73.7%, and prevented 0.81 goals, which doesn't sound a lot, but when you look at him compared to some of the others, then it's not too bad. But again, that's 3 years ago that he was a half regular player at that stage. So that is what we're dealing with currently, and that is our backup goalkeeper. Appears quite happy. Obviously, he'd want to play, and I don't mean it'd be daft to say anything else, but happy to sit on the bench mostly. Just been called up to the Welsh squad again. Don't know how that happens. Whether it's the same situation for Wales, that he's happy to be a rotation option. He doesn't say a lot for their options, if I'm honest, and that's no offense to Davo, but he's not getting any game time. So I've got 6 backup goalkeeper options here, so I'm not going to spend too long on each one. And we're going to... it's a perfect 10, this, actually, speaking of Paul Eaton, because I've then got 4 potential replacements for Michael Cooper if the worst was to happen and he was to go. So, option number 6, and this is, again, these backup options are either to complement Adam Davies, so Adam Davies either becomes number 3 or goes. To be fair, we could replace him. Or Adam Davies stays number 2. We bring somebody fairly cheap and cheerful in, but get Luke Faxon out to playing some games. Because I think you do need 3 keepers at the level. But we'll see. See what you guys think. So, option number 6 is Thomas Kaminski. Now, Thomas Kaminski played for Luton, and he still plays for Luton, but played for Luton in the Premier League. He had a brilliant season before that for Blackburn. This season, he's played 45 games, conceded 68, kept 10 clean sheets. So he's playing most games. Obviously, he's been relegated this season. So potentially this is an option for us. 2 million quid for a 32-year-old. These are estimated values on some of the stuff I've seen on sites like Transfer Market and FootMob. But this is also my sort of estimate as well, sort of a sensible estimate if I can. 2 million quid. It's prevented minus 6.02 goals. Now, these minus figures aren't always purely based on the goalkeeper. These are goals in terms of chance, the XG, if you like, the expected goals against them. How many of those has he saved? Well, sometimes that's a defender's fault, isn't it? That's something that the goalkeeper doesn't have. Obviously, the more goals prevented, the better it pads his stats out, which is why I'm not the biggest fan of stats. But I think in these comparison videos, it's sometimes interesting to put them alongside each other. So Thomas Kaminski should have saved 6 goals that actually went past him in terms of the expected goals against him. And I think we could get him for around 2 million quid, which is not a huge outlay. But for a 32-year-old goalkeeper, this is the reason why he's number 6. So let me know what you think about Kaminski in the comments. And the reason he's on the list, obviously, is that, well, that's wrong overlay. The reason he's on the list is because he's a good goalkeeper, I think, at the level. Particularly a couple of years ago, he was one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship, I think it's fair to say. Backup number 5 is also a controversial option. Danny Ward. So Danny Ward is at Leicester currently. I did actually have Daniel Everson on this list, but it was long rumoured to be going back to Preston, and he's now gone to Preston. So Danny Ward comes in as a late sub for that. Also a Leicester keeper being freed, as was Daniel Everson. He's 31 years old, which, again, it's no age for a goalkeeper, really, but you won't want to be paying money for him, like we talked about with Kaminski. He played, I've gone back to the 22-23 season because a few of these backup options are actually backup goalkeepers. So he played 28 games that season. He conceded 46, had 6 clean sheets, but that was in the Premier League for Leicester, I believe. I believe that's where I pulled the stats from. His save percentage was 62.9%, and he should have prevented almost 9 goals from going in against him. Now, again, just to get, and he'd be available on a free transfer. He could potentially be our new Luke Faxon. He could be our 3rd goalkeeper option. He's experienced as well. But then, Marty Great, getting a little plug there. I'll come back to that when we can. But again, you compare this to Davo, who's prevented almost a goal more than he should. And his save percentage is higher than both of these. So this is why a little bit of it is having a little bit of faith in the man that we've got currently as well. Because I know we're not huge fans of Adam Davies, but, you know, this is why I've included the stats. And actually, when we come to replacements for Cooper, I'll talk to you about something that actually changed when I saw the stats. Backup number 4, Asmir Begovic. Old. No getting around it. Old. Just about to leave Everton. But last season, the season before last, if you like, it was at Everton this season, Wheelyman. The one before that season, which is the stats that I've included, it was at QPR, and he played all 46 games for QPR. I think he captained him, if I remember rightly. Played really, really well, which got him his move back to Everton as a backup goalkeeper. He conceded 57 in those 46 games, kept 13 clean sheets. I've highlighted it in green here because he is the highest clean sheets on these backup options. He is the man that holds the highest clean sheets. His save percentage was 68.3. And despite his really good record in terms of goals conceded, he still should have prevented nearly 8 goals of those. And that, again, this is not him as an individual, but the defence. And the fact that he's only conceded 57 tells me that QPR have been unlucky that season in terms of they should have prevented 8 more goals and maybe conceded only 49. And where does that put them in the league? So bear with me. If you're struggling with these stats, I will try and go at a steady-ish pace. As I say, I'm not a huge stat man myself, but I do think it's interesting to see when we're comparing people to Adam Davies, I would immediately think Asmir Begovic is loads better. But he has got 5 years on Adam Davies, and his save percentage isn't as good as Adam Davies's when he was playing regularly in the Championship. Now, this is a small sample size. That is one thing I will say. But it's a decent enough sample size, isn't it? And it's a decent record. It is from 3 years ago. There's all these things to consider, isn't there? There's loads of sort of intangibles. Next on the list, backup number 3. You thought Begovic was old. John Ruddy. A very similar boat to... Oh, hang on. Have I gone for the wrong thing? No, I haven't. A very similar boat to Asmir Begovic. 38 now. And the season before, he was at Newcastle, which he's only had 1 year at Newcastle, didn't play a game. Was obviously just there for the English quarter, I think, as their 3rd goalkeeper. But he would certainly challenge Michael Cooper, I think, as a strong goalkeeper. He's 38, so again, we have to bear that in mind. But he played so well for Birmingham. In the season that they got relegated, it has to be said, 71.2% save percentage, conceded 62 in 46 games, kept 11 clean sheets. Should have maybe kept nearly 4 of those out. Again, their defence was all over the place. A very, very good goalkeeper on his day, certainly past his prime. But the other thing I like about Begovic and Ruddy, experienced heads and leaders. They've both worn the captain's armband. They are strong figures in a dressing room. We've got a very young squad. We're expected to lose some older heads in the dressing room, I suppose, this time around again. So I think that's a really potentially good option. Backup number 2. And this is where it gets interesting, I think. Freddie Woodman lost his place this season at Preston, but as a vastly experienced Championship goalkeeper. 28 years old, so a good age. Great age. Who said that? It was Tim Lovejoy on Soccer AM, by the way. So, Freddie Woodman played 37 times this season before losing his place at Preston. Conceded 43 goals. Good record, that. 12 clean sheets. Save percentage drops a little bit compared to some of the others at 67.2%. Should have prevented 3.5 more goals than he did. He's available on a free transfer after leaving Preston. Was talking to Man United about being their 3rd goalkeeper option. And it would be a distant 3rd, wouldn't it? It's just for their quota, really. But no longer happening as they're trying to renegotiate with Tom Heaton. So Freddie Woodman, I think, would be a fantastic option. Again, you look at the stats, and Adam Davies, sample size isn't as good, but his save percentage is better. But he's a lot older, isn't he? A lot older, I said that. 4 years. 28 for a goalkeeper is nothing, is it? So I think this would be a real... To say that he is been a regular Championship goalkeeper for years, Freddie Woodman, I think he's a real solid, in fact, possibly a very close 2nd option as a backup. My first backup to Michael Cooper and to, again, sort of nudge Davo into the 3rd spot. And I'm not sure whether he'd be happy to come as a number 2, to be honest, in the Championship, because he's been a number 1 all season. Angus Gunn, 29-year-old, absolute man mountain, by the way. Pardon the pun from the view from the mountain. But, yeah, really tall man. I think he's about 6'5", 6'6". Just left Norwich, played 35 times for them this season. Only missed the games that he did due to injury. Conceded 42, kept 7 clean sheets. Not a great record, to be fair. His save percentage isn't great either. And he should have prevented 6 more goals. So when you look at that, would you say Freddie Woodman's a better option? On the stats, he is. But I would argue that Angus Gunn is a better goalkeeper. Obviously, I've watched them both play against Sheffield United this season as well. And I thought Angus Gunn played really well. So you've got to go to the eye test as well as the stats, which we always talk about on this channel. But it's very close between Freddie Woodman and Angus Gunn for a backup goalkeeper. So I'm interested to hear what you think about that. And then moving on from there, we'll go on to Michael Cooper. Excuse me. But let me catch up with some comments first before we do that. So Martin says, even if we're not, if you were promoted, you'd lose players. Not getting promoted, forget it. You're going to lose all your best players. It's the way it works, unfortunately. We shall see, Martin. We shall see, mate. Jack says, there's no way we sell Cooper or Burrows if Gus Souza and Anel go. I understand they may want to leave, but we need to generate the best price for the club. Can't let Gus or Souza go for pennies. No excuses for this team to have any holes in it and a weak bench. It's rebuild 2.0 and it's even bigger than last year's. Absolutely right, it is. I have no doubt Wilder can get the job done, but we need him to aim higher with the type of players we bring in. It's now or never for him, unfortunately. I think he'll know that. I think he'll know that. Paul says, hi, all Ramblers. How's everyone now? I'm okay. And to be honest, was by Saturday tea time. I do think Tufty has to take that on the chin. Some of the subs were poor timing, but this will show us how much new owners are up for it. It certainly will. How much they want to support the club. Could be worse. We could have Tuna King in charge, up all the Rambles and the Ramblers. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that, pal. Winkerbank Blade says, Gus, Vinny, and Nell always going to go. Try and get as much as we can for the rest and rebuild. Go again, up the Blades, up the Ramble. We are going to lose players. They were the three that I've talked about all the time, isn't it? I'm not convinced. I think in this order, it's likely that they go. I think Anel is almost nailed on. I think Vinny Souza is pretty likely to go, if I'm honest. And I think Gus is probably 60-40 to go. I don't think by any means it's a foregone. I do think he may go, but he would be the third most likely of the three, in my opinion, even though he's the best player of the three. Rai says, you'll naturally lose players, but that doesn't mean you can't go again stronger next season. We did. Spending wisely and finding a few gems mixed with experience, and you'll be fine with Wilder. Nice one. Scott says, hey up, Jim. There's no way we'll sell Cooper. We'll lose some players. I get that, but no way Cooper goes, especially to a newly promoted club. If he was to leave us, it would be to move to a big club. For a big club move. Yeah, I agree. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man, Scott. I'd like you to squash any of these things right away, please, Jimbo. Don't be putting us through this over the coming months. I'll do my best, pal. I'll do my best. Danny says, I think Anel and Vinny will definitely go, and we'll just need to invest the money wisely. We are an attractive proposition for championship players, so we need the best. Defender and wingers are a must if we're going to keep the same formation. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Oh, mate, don't talk to me about formations. My head nearly fell off yesterday in our chat. Or going back. I don't often argue with people, but I was yesterday. I dared to suggest, I'm going to put it out there now, actually, because we've got a platform and we can. I dared to suggest that we could, and I don't think we will, but we could go back to a 3-5-2. When you strip away the players that will leave, all we need in a 3-5-2 are defenders, like central defenders. Obviously, the goalkeeper position is there wherever formation you play. I think Burrows and Sariki are better suited as wing-backs. I'm talking about the best formation to suit our current squad. I'm not saying I want us to be 3-5-2. I'm not saying we will be 3-5-2. I'm saying we look at the landscape of the Sheffield United squad currently and the one that's going to be, you know, when all the loan players go back, etc. So we lose Raksaki, we lose Brereton Diaz, those wide boys that we brought them in to be wide boys. You get in three defenders starting with Jimmy Dunn. Maybe keep Anel if you can. I don't think you will. Jack Robinson lends him centre a three at the back. Dare I say it. But ultimately, Burrows and Sariki are made to be wing-backs, in my opinion. We are spoiled for choice in the middle. You could put Gus Amer back in there. Believe it or not, he's an 8. I like him as a 10. Don't get me wrong. Really want to see him as a 10. But we've got Callum O'Hare. And this is the problem that we've had. You could build a formation with 2 10s. I get that, but I'm just explaining to you the discussion I tried to have in the group and got laughed at by a certain couple of people. But you go to any 2 in the middle of Gus, Vinny, Peck, Arblaster. Spoilt for choice. If you want to put 2 in there and Hamer in the 10, you can, but you can also put Callum O'Hare in the 10, which suits him down to the ground. We've spent 13 million or 10 million now on a striker alongside the man on fire, Tyrese Campbell, and Kiefer Moore backing him up. We've got 3, what I would say, at least good to very, very good strikers at this level. We can't just have them fighting for one spot. I think we need 2 strikers, and I think we're best with 2 strikers. So Cannon and Campbell and Moore, somebody with Campbell basically up top, with O'Hare behind, maybe Hamer and yeah, you'll lose one, but then you bring in an Arblaster, and then you might lose two, and you bring in Siddy Peck alongside him. Peck might go. It's all these sort of things, but the squad we've got at the minute, and this was the point I was trying to raise before I got shot down in flames. The players we've got at the minute are best suited to a 3-5-2. We've every opportunity to change that in the summer, but it does mean bringing in 4 wingers. And we didn't do that last summer. We tried to play a system with wingers without wingers in our squad. We had one winger, one legit winger, Jezrin Raksaki, and he's inverted. So never goes around the outside and gets a cross in for our 6'4" forward. It didn't completely make sense to me. That's and we're here to be honest, aren't we? And that's me maybe criticising Wilder. But I didn't understand it. Look, whether I understood it or not, don't matter, does it? Because 92 points, won on the field, 90 points, whatever you want to call it. 90 points, let's go with that. Third, playoff final, beat them lot twice. Absolutely incredible season. So maybe Chris Wilder knows what he's talking about. If he wants to stick with a 4-2-3-1, we will. If he wants to go with a 4-4-2, we will. And it's for us fans to speculate about it and what we like. And again, this is a platform for opinions. So I don't mind any of that. Don't mind any of it. Keep Cooper and Vinny. Will be a chef's kiss. I don't know whether we'll keep Vinny, if I'm honest. Come September 1st and next summer will be Premier League. Well, it didn't work this season, did it? To be fair. England bringing it home at the World Cup. Fair dues. Uruguay White says money has to be made somewhere. And in a way, you having Arblaster out injured has kept him out of the shop window. I agree with that. It would be total pure profit and would have a price regardless of being a blade. I think Siddy Peck might take that mantle, if I'm honest. There's a lot of clubs sniffing around Siddy Peck. Had a brilliant season. Surely we keep Coops up the blades, up all the rambles, says Craigo. I hope so, mate. And I think we will. Beast Boy says, I actually don't mind starting Faxon, getting him up to speed, because he's a player and would definitely be one of the best keepers in the league in a couple of years. Do you want to experiment, though? And I'm not saying he's not ready. I haven't seen enough of him. I really like him. I know he's a fan of the channel. He's told me a couple of times himself. So shout out Luke Faxon. I'm delighted he's signed a deal with us, and I want him to be the long-term successor. But I do, and I understand now more than ever the benefits of staying with the squad at times. But I would love him to get treatment that you see from other goalkeepers in the Premier League, for example, who get the League One loans, and then the following season they get the Dean Henderson route. Was loaned out to League Two, then loaned out to League One, then the Championship, then loaned out to the Premier League. That's how he built not only his confidence but his reputation. And who's to say we can't do that with Luke Faxon? Beast Boy says, because Faxon is here, I don't mind selling Cooper for 20 mil. Loft says, I'd have Hamer and Vinny. Rest don't improve at all. Cooper's overrated. We put 4 past him, and it was his fault for Sunderland's winner. If you don't want him, mate, I'll be absolutely fine and dandy with that. Matt says, evening, Jimmy, whatever happens, we 100% need to keep Cooper for sure. I agree. Build the team around him, Burrows, Arblaster. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. James says, after all, I still trust Wilder, and if any of the current squad wants out and don't want to play for United, then they'll be moved on regardless of the price. And the same thing goes for anyone else. Who comes in? Up the blades, up the ramble, like and subscribe. Well, we're just talking tonight, other than the little chat bits, about goalkeepers specifically. So let me move on to there's been a lot of chat there about Cooper won't leave and he might leave, and do you think Cooper leaves and I'll be okay if he leaves? This is the boy. This is the main man who we shouted on this channel from the rooftops about getting him. Absolutely delighted that we did. Look at these stats, by the way. Lofts has just said he's overrated. Lofts, come on, mate. 25. I'd love to have Melier's stats here, side by side. 25-year-old, 43 appearances, conceded 33, kept 21 clean sheets, better than anybody on this list that I'm about to either get as a backup to him or have planned as a replacement. He's prevented nearly 6 goals from going in, Save percentage of 76.9, better than anybody else on this list. And I'm valuing him at least at 20 million quid. At least. So who do we think would be, if the worst happens and somebody comes in and smacks down 25 million on table and we say, actually, that's too good for us. Or he says, I want to go. I want to play Premier League football. I want to go to an Everton, or I want to go to a whoever it might be. You know, sometimes we can't prevent that from. I don't think he would. I don't think he's that type, if I'm honest. But I think he'll give us at least one more season, like a lot of these really highly rated players that we've got will. So who are the potential replacements? And I've got 4, and that'll complete your perfect 10 of 6 backups and 4 in case worst happens. Now, this first one was a lot higher on my list because he passed the eye test, but his stats aren't great. It's Carl Rushworth. 23 years old, youngest. Oh, is he the youngest? He might not be the youngest. I don't think he is, actually. Carl Rushworth is at Brighton, and I'm giving you his 23-24 stats for Swansea in the Championship. Played 46 times, conceded 65 goals, and kept 10 clean sheets, a save percentage of 68.8%. He prevented 4 goals, which is really good. And I estimate, and that's all it is, this, I might be way off. It cost us about 3.5 million to get him out of Brighton because he's actively said now he wants to go. He wants to move to the Premier League or the Championship to be a number 1. And Carl Rushworth and Michael Cooper were our 2 main. I don't mean on this channel. We always wanted Michael Cooper. But when Sheffield United were looking for a goalkeeper, it was either Cooper on a perm or Rushworth on loan. And Wilder, for a long time, really wanted Rushworth on loan. And it was a big discussion behind the scenes with him getting different opinions and people that he trusted. And he ended up opting for Michael Cooper. Thank the Lord, because what an asset we've now got. And that's no slight on Rushworth, but obviously a loan, even if they do brilliantly, you're only ever developing someone else's player, which we all know. I still really like Rushworth. And if he came in as a Michael Cooper replacement, I'd be very happy, which is why he's on this list. But compared to some of the others that I also like, these aren't great numbers. In fact, it's as if he flatters to deceive a little bit. And the fact that he's 23, coming from where he's coming from, Brighton, known to be full of hot prospects, his price will be the highest, I think, of the 4 options that we've got. So that's why he's my 4th choice. Doesn't mean he's the 4th best goalkeeper, but it means with everything considered, I would pick him 4th out of these. If they were all on a free transfer, he might be higher up the list. In fact, he probably would. Choice number 3 might come out of left field a little bit, but if you've been watching closely on the Ramble, I've talked about him a fair bit. Jamie Cumming. Signed for Oxford on a free transfer from Chelsea. 25 years old. He played 45 times for Oxford last season, conceded 62, which is a really good record for a team like Oxford. I mean, you look at Carl Rushworth for all right, they're not a great Championship side, Swansea, but for a solid Championship side, conceding 65, Cummings gone from a newly promoted side, Oxford, who were really poor when they came to Bramall Lane, kept 13 clean sheets, save percentage of 69.8%, prevented 9.5 goals. Again, if we're going to say that you can't blame goalkeepers solely for goal prevention, you know, you've got to include the defence, then we can't also argue for it as well. But prevented 9.5 goals. Hellick, somebody that we talked about on the Ramble, a very smart signing by Oxford, centre half from Huddersfield, has played very well in front of him. But Jamie Cumming at 25, a really, really good goalkeeper. Really like him. Really like him. Think he could be a top prospect at this level. And the fact that he plays for Oxford, and this is no offence to Oxford, but any yous watching this will probably agree, we wouldn't have to spend as much money getting him out of Oxford as we would have to spend on getting Carl Rushworth out of Brighton. Or even this next man, option number 2 out of his club. And it's a familiar face. That bearded, beautiful boy with the captain's armband on there, if you have a little closer look. Victor Johansson. Now, he didn't turn down Sheffield United in the summer. but we were heavily rumoured with him. I think we'd had informal conversations with him. But Stoke swooped really quickly to get him for 900 grand, I think it was, pushing £1 million as a fee. He's up there with Cooper business. So he has done really well from this season in what has been a really poor season for them. Played every game, conceded 62 goals, 14 clean sheets for a side that's so far down. He's had a couple of really dodgy games as well. I didn't think he was good against Leeds at all. But you can have those sort of games, I think, as a goalkeeper from time to time. I think anybody on the pitch can. 71% save percentage. Prevented 11 goals on it, not on his own, because we're mindful of not saying that, but by far the best record out of any goalkeeper, including the boy Victor Johansson, has by far prevented the most goals out of anybody in this league. So really interesting. That's my number 2 shout to replace Michael Cooper. If we were to lose Michael Cooper, 4th on my list is Carl Rushworth. 3rd on my list is Jamie Cumming. And 2nd on my list is Victor Johansson. Now, any guesses on who my first choice would be? In fact, I might just leave it as a bit of a cliffhanger for now. Let's get back to some comments. Hi, Jimmy. I think we need to keep Cooper. Would be brilliant if we can keep Gus. Don't think anybody will come in for an L. Not now. 3 years ago, yes. And Vinny, for me, has to be fragile for his position. Up the Ramble, up the Blades. Neil, I think with the Nell being in the last year of his contract, he could go for a knockdown price. So I think that's why he's been linked away, and I think he will go. Hi, Jimmy and Ramblers. Hope we're all well, says Dave Morwood. And get in there, all the Rambles, up the Blades, like and subscribe. Susan says, hi, Jimmy and everyone. Do we really have to sell the players that keep being mentioned? Where would we find that quality? No, we don't, Susan. That's a great point as well. If you look at last summer, we came down from the Premier League, which I suppose is the equivalent to what's happened this year. You know, we haven't made it back to the Premier League. We didn't manage to stay in the Premier League a year ago, and we now have failed to get back to the Premier League at the first time of asking. So we're in a similar boat. A lot of them have given us a year in the Championship, and that's probably why we're thinking players like Gus might want one last big move now. But he is under contract. 2+1. People think it's 2. I think it's 2+1. I might be wrong, but I think it's 2+1. So we don't have to sell him. And you look back to what happened in the summer, we sold almost every Premier League signing back for a small profit. Players like Traore, players like Slimani, players like Trusty, we sold them back on to different clubs, but for a profit. Incredible business. We also sold Willisula for 10, rising to 15. Willisula wasn't worth that at the time. He may prove to be a good signing for Newcastle, and I hope he does, because he's a great kid and very good attitude. But yeah, I think we got a good deal there. If we sell Ryan One to Liverpool for 15 million, or even the same type of deal, and then we end up having to sell one, maybe a Vinny Souza, maybe a Siddy Peck, maybe a Nell, probably a Nell for 5 million quid, we might not need to sell anybody else. They might want to go, and you don't want unhappy players here. But you're right, Susan, we don't have to. Loft says you have to sell no matter what because of FFP. We're not in that situation, pal. We had to sell ours last season. That's the downside of not being good enough to go up, I'm afraid. That'll be more the case if we don't make it up next season. Bryce says, evening, Jimmy. Got over the playoffs. With the squad we have, it was our best chance to get promoted. Oh, well, up the Blades. Yeah, we'll see, Bri. I think we'll be back okay next season. We'll be here to talk us all through it, won't we? We'll get through it together. Don't you worry, pal. Ray says, well, good evening, all. I thought I was over it, but still can't get over how it all went wrong after the goal disallowed. I still think it should have been given. Even an Owl supporter, an ex-ref, said it should have been given, said Keith Hackett. Yeah, I've heard the same. Don't watch it back if you haven't. My dad did that today. Says he's not great. Cooper goes nowhere this season. Wouldn't mind Gunn from Norwich as competition for him. Always looked dependable when I've seen him. Great minds, Brett. Great minds. Up all the Rambles. Congratulations, Jimmy. Over 8K. Thank you, mate. It's incredible, isn't it? Where it's just a bit of a pinch myself sort of time as to how quickly we're growing as well. We're up to 8,085 already, which is balmy, isn't it? Balmy. On the road to 10K, I think. Obviously, we'll celebrate 9. but on the road to 10K. Sean says, we can't afford to lose Cooper. If anything, we need, to be honest, at 10K, what we've said is, I've promised Lee, one of our Platinum Ramblers and a top man, he's requested some time ago a retro ramble. So for those of you that haven't been watching for a long time, before this, we converted the garage into the Ramble HQ, the studio. I used to do these from my kitchen table, and it was very niche, but very sort of well received, I think is fair to say. So what I've said is, when we hit 10K, because it's a when, it's not an if, it's a when, we are on the charge, and I'm confident we can do this, and I appreciate everybody that follows us. I will do a retro ramble from the kitchen. We've still got the boxes that I used to stack my camera on, my phone and all that sort of stuff to record. So yeah, let's do that. Sean says, we can't afford to lose Cooper. If anything, we need to sign another experienced keeper for backup if he ever got injured. I don't think we could rely on Davies in another promotion push. See, Sean, you put that before I went live, so I appreciate you had a chance to have a look at what I've been saying. Does that change your mind, the backup options that we've talked about? So I really like Freddie Woodman. I really like Angus Gunn. No guarantee that Angus Gunn will be happy to be a backup in the Championship. In fact, I'd probably say it's unlikely. Freddie Woodman, however, I think would come in to push. We're happy to go to Man U as a number 3. Man U is a different kettle of fish. It's a huge club, obviously, but I think there's a chance of getting Freddie Woodman. Other than that, and yeah, you can talk about John Ruddy, you can talk about Begovic, who would really push Michael Cooper, and would be comfortable with either of them stepping in, I think, more so than Davies. But then you've got to think you'll probably have to replace them again next year. So it's what you like, and Davo's stats aren't as bad as people may have thought. And yes, it's a small sample size, but it's something to think about, isn't it? Ramble before bed. Go on then, says Maury. You're in bed already, I'm jealous. Ben says, Jimmy, evening Jimmy, Cooper and Vinny ain't going anywhere. Gus and Nell look likely though. Asgard's a pretty penny, you know. Me and Jord Motson were talking about Asgard when we were doing a Luton watch along. And I didn't realise they signed him for about 4 or 5 million quid. I thought it were a cheaper deal than that. So if they want the money back, then I'd be going elsewhere. Dunn, yes. Simpson. Oh, Simpson. Simpson Poussey, I'm going to say, because I'm not going to read it out of the way I'm reading it. Simpson Poussey, I would love as replacements. Back to the new data model as well. Up the blades up all the rambles, like and subscribe. Cheers, Benny boy. Simpson Poussey from Man City, says Maury. Yeah, mate, rate him a lot and wouldn't cost as much as it would be a loan. Genuine question. How many of you have seen Simpson Poussey, the man that I've never seen or heard of? How many of you actually watched him other than YouTube highlights, or signed him on Football Manager, or played him on FIFA, whatever it's called now, EA Sports 25 or whatever? If you only know him from any of those 3, it's a no. If you have done a dry bright and been down to the training ground and watched him, or seen him playing actual competitive games, then we can have a conversation. Football Manager, YouTube highlights are not a gauge for me. And that's not me sort of being disrespectful, Ben. I just do not know where you've seen him. So if you can tell me that you've actually laid eyes on him rather than just heard good things about him and then done your own bit of research, because I think they're skewed, those sort of things. Scott says, can't see Coops going unless silly money comes in for him, like 20 to 30 million. I agree. Especially if Trafford is 20 to 25. Also, I do think we need competition for Cooper. I'd suggest Tickle at Wigan. Good shout. John says, I think we will just lose Hamer, Vinny and Anel. Just. But Leeds are wanting half of our side, including Cooper. We need a right back and 2 centre halves, or we will not be in the top half. Kaiser says, no way we lose Cooper, in my opinion. Sousa, I'm sure, will go, and Hamer, I'm unsure, but seems likely. I'd accept no less than 50 mil for Hamer and Coops together. This is it, isn't it? I mean, I think that's high, if I'm honest. I think 40 gets them both, potentially. But what are they worth to us? It's not just what they're worth as players, it's what are they worth to us. How much is it going to cost us to replace Michael Cooper? I think we've probably proven not too much now. You can get a good goalkeeper for a reasonable amount of money, but you're not going to get a Gus Hamer again, are you? In the Championship, they're like rocking horse poo. So Really tough. Are you serious? Cooper worth more than Trafford? No, Cooper's not worth more than Trafford. The pedigree of Trafford and the fact that he's younger and he's spotlighted a bit more and he had a brilliant end to the season as well, it has to be said. He will go for more money than Cooper. I'm not saying he's better though. Hit the like button, please, people. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate that, pal. Nearly 1,000 people in here on all platforms. If you're not already, please do jump over to YouTube and give us a subscribe. We are on the road to 9, soon to be the what we're saying. What's the 10? We used to rhyme, didn't we, when we were trying to get to targets, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. It's poor from me. Names I've seen linked with moves away: Sousa, Hamer, Cooper, Peck, One, Burrows, and Nell. Going to be a long summer. Sousa, yes. Hamer, maybe. Cooper, no. Peck, yes. One, yes. Burrows, no. And Nell, yes. I can see all that happening. Jack says, if we do lose them all, let's say we do lose them all, it'll be a very costly summer for people. The new owners ain't going to sell the backbone of the team. We're not going to sell them all, Jack, but that's who Scott's just saying. He's seen linked with moves away. Brentford may have a look at Cooper with their keeper Flecken moving. Oh, is Flecken moving on? I didn't know that. Chris says we lose Cooper and we lose Cooper. Angus Gunn's available. I will bring in Tyrese Dolan, John Swift, Jimmy Dunn, Darling, Kessler Hayden. Oh, I really like Kessler Hayden. And Chair from QPR. Some good shouts there, Chris. I'm not the biggest fan of Tyrese. I do like Tyrese Dolan as a squad option. I think he's ridiculously inconsistent. But because he's young and he's a flair player, he's sometimes seen to be better than he is, in my opinion. John Swift is fading rather than impacting. He can't get in the West Brom side most weeks. Jimmy Dunn, outstanding at the level. I would say very, very good at the level. We will sign Jimmy Dunn. I'll be amazed if we don't. Harry Darling, I'd like us to come back in for now that we're going to be in the Championship. Like him as a signing. Kessler Hayden, I really like. But again, that we need a right back, and he's more of a right back. He can play right wing back as well. I understand that. So if we're going with a 4 at the back, and you're comfortable tucking Jimmy Dunn inside as a right centre half, which he can play and has played several times, but he's just won all of QPR's awards playing as a right back. So that negates the Kessler Hayden signing, doesn't it? Chair from QPR would be, for me, the closest thing to a Hamer light, both in weight and ability. Oh, dear me. Evening, Jimmy and Ramblers. Hope you're all well. Seen Mr. Mountain and Mr. Nose at Wembley the other day. How did you not see me then? I was sat next to him. Would have stopped to say hi, but needed to rush to get the coach. No worries, Dan. New season starts now. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Nice one, Will. Michael says, the Leeds fans do my head in. They need to go away. It's a platform for everybody, pal. And look, I appreciate the... I don't think there'll be as many on next season, if I'm honest. I'm hoping they stay with the channel, but I don't think they'll have reason to comment as much. But they're welcome here, and they've been a strong addition to the channel. And they've helped us grow as well. It's helped us expand to a different audience. I think working with Connor's been really good. I spoke to Connor yesterday about trying to plan some content moving forward now that we're in different divisions, and how is it going to look? Still some stuff to sort out, but very exciting. Chris says, when does the return list come out, Jimmy? I think we've got till the 1st of June, pal. So not long. End of this week, probably. Yeah, it could be any time. Well, we haven't got a lot of players out of contract, have we? The big decisions are Jack Robinson and Ryan Brewster, and maybe that's a conversation we have. Wayne says, evening, Jimmy. Sousa and Hamer will go. Cooper won't. Don't worry. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man. Sharon says, it was a brilliant day. It probably was for you. Danny Chap becomes a new Rambler. Thank you, pal. Appreciate that. Thanks for the support. David says, hi, Jimmy. Your channel is absolutely brilliant. I'm a Leeds fan, but watch your videos more than Connor's. Thank you, mate. That's smart business from me. Smart business for me. I don't blame you. I would as well. Bell Differs says, I'll take Cooper at Burnley. Yeah, I know you would. After Joe from Turfcast slated him all season. Unlucky, Jimmy. I was kind of cheering you on, but up the Clarets, baby. Are you having a baby? Daniel says, Coops, Hamer and El Vinny will probably be sold. No chance. We don't lose 4. Not a chance. I'd even be worried about losing Peck. Where do we think the rebuild money should go? Any Wilder contract news? Wilder signed a new contract, Dan, 6 months ago. He's not going anywhere, in my opinion. I certainly hope not. Steve says, if we want any of your players, we will take them. I'm not even reading the rest of that. Big T says, good evening, Jimmy. It's a late one tonight. I know, I've been out for a meal with Liam and Dave. Over Wembley now. It looks like Gussie's on the way out. As long as it's not Leeds, I'll take it on the chin. Big Tony making his Ramble on the Road debut in this Wembley edition. So thank you, Tone. Hope to see you do it an awful lot more next season. I've edited it today. I thought you were brilliant. Thank you, pal. Really appreciate that. Josh says, hi, Jim. It was a good day out at Wembley and on Saturday with my dad, apart from the score and Sunderland fans in the box behind us. What do you think about the Brewster situation? Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Brewster, I think, if we're sticking with wingers, I would keep him. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Dave the Nose. I think he's done enough to earn a contract recently, and maybe he was playing for a contract, and it has to be sort of beneficial to the club in terms of the finances around it. But I honestly think he'll go. I think he's done enough to earn a deal, but I think he'll go. And I think he'll either go to the Championship or maybe Scotland, one of the big clubs in Scotland or something like that, who can pay more money, and it's not as competitive a league, so it might look a little bit better. I can see him somewhere like a Rangers, to be honest. Hilt says, hi, Jimmy. Have released how many players we lose on loans, etc., and any players we lose to transfers. The return list hasn't come out yet, Hilts, if that's what you're on about. The loans will all return. I don't expect us to sign any of them, if I'm honest. Cooper won't leave unless it's big money involved, I hope. Dave says, personally, I thought Henderson in the champ for us was a level above Cooper. I think that's harsh on Cooper, but I think I would agree that Dean Henderson is the best Sheffield United keeper I've ever seen. And that's in a list of brilliant goalkeepers, by the way. I think it's a position that, on the whole, we've been very strong with. I don't think we've ever had amazing strikers. You can put Billy Sharp, James Beattie, and excuse me. I mean, Illiman's pushing it to say striker, isn't he? But, you know, Ched for a little purple patch of a time who did really well at a lower level. But I think that you look at the list of goalkeepers, to say Dean Henderson is head and shoulders over a goalkeeper like Paddy Kenny. Paddy Kenny were an incredible goalkeeper for us. Simon Tracy, Alan Kelly. There'll be people I miss, but Michael Cooper's right up there and in that conversation. And I would say he's well on the way to being the second best goalkeeper I've ever seen in a Sheffield United shirt after one really strong season. Matilda Shake says, Kelly Jones in disguise. I'll take that. Been called worse. How about that, mate? How about that? That's incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. I got a copyright strike for Phonics for your cover. Unreal. Victor Hansen is a good replacement, to be honest, buddy. If Cooper is too much for Burnley. Yeah, fair dues. Scott says, rather than spend 10 to 15 million on Tanganga, I'd get Darling and Dunn on freeze and use that money elsewhere. Correct. Hi, Jimmy. Your channel is absolutely brilliant. I watch it more than Connors. I think you said that already, but I'll read it again. Sheffield United is now my second team. I don't think Leeds go for any Blades players other Blades. Thank you, David. Appreciate that, pal. Is it worth going the Simon Tracy route with Faxon and throw him in the deep end from the academy? Could do, but is he going to be involved? I would like, if the goalkeeper situation doesn't change, I would like to see Luke Faxon move up to number 2 and become the lead backup goalkeeper. That is, and you know, sort of play the cup games. And if Cooper does drop out injured, then he's the man that comes in. I think that's the way we should be looking personally. Matt says, seeing Vinny, he's on the push to get in the Brazil squad. Personally, I don't think he's good enough for that, but do we think he will stay? No, I don't. I think there might be legs to him. Maybe his agent may be wanting to move. He has been a little bit loose-lipped in foreign papers before, but you can never really rely on them in terms of things get lost in translation and taken out of context, don't they? So I take it with a pinch of salt, to be honest, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he goes. I'm going to put a name out there, Kyle Walker. I don't think we'll get him in the champ, pal, to be honest. I think if we were in the Prem, I'd have fancied it. I'd have said it were probably 60-40 that we could get him. I think it's less than 20. Probably less than 10 now. Big Girls Radio Cry says, I hate all the transfer rumours apart from the last day. I love them. I love them, I have to say. I think I get really excited. All these names that are flying about, I think they're great. Kel says, you can keep Cooper, Jimbo. Traffs is staying with us another season, and a keeper like Cooper isn't going to want to warm a bench all season. You wouldn't sign him, though, would you? You'd sign him to be number one if you signed him. And that, obviously, if you keep Trafford, which you won't, or highly unlikely, then you sign Cooper to be number one, wouldn't you? Paul Rose of Wellstone Landscapes. What do you reckon, pal? I've sort of tried to give your background a bit of a buffer so you can see the logo a little bit better. Evening, Jimmy. If we get people sniffing around Cooper and Hamer, do we not hold the cards due to how long they've got on their contracts? Yes, we do. Surely we can't. We can demand silly money. We can, but you've got to balance it all the time, aren't you, between an unhappy player and what's reasonable, all this sort of thing. But yes, we hold the cards, definitely. And just to give a little nudge, some behind the Ramble content about in and around Ramble HQ from Wellstone Landscapes coming to you very soon, hopefully, if you can squeeze me in. Bell says, Kel Wilson, I like what you're thinking, brother, but I can't see him staying, meaning Traff. Wouldn't mind buying Sargent from Norwich, a good striker either. 35 mil for Cooper is not happening. No, it isn't. I don't think anybody could suggest 35 million. Next season will be Brill again and really competitive and better than this season, unlike the Prem, where we probably get beat most weeks like Sunderland and Leeds will do. And Burnley. Look, the three promoted sides are going to get beaten, but we were challenging to try and become one of those, weren't we? So we all know what the Premier League's like. It's really, really tough. But the worst three sides in the Premier League are now odds on to be the best three sides in the Championship. And that's just the gap. Alan says, Hamer goes, do we need a replacement with Peck and Blaster? Do we need to replace him with, or when we've got Peck and our Blaster? Yeah, because he hasn't been playing in the centre midfield, has he? Centre of midfield. So, yes, we would. Paul says, Sam Johnston at Crystal Palace would be a good option if we lose Coops. Jimmy, isn't he at Wolves now? I think he's Wolves number 2. I might be wrong. I lost track of Sam Johnston up the Blades. Yeah, it'd be a great number 1 option, but you've got to think the big hitters on big money like this, like Sam Johnston, for example. We are going to be in a pool now with Leicester, Southampton and Ipswich as well, trying to get players that are really good for this level. So Sam Johnston screams like big payers, in my opinion. So if Leicester wanted Sam Johnston as their new number 1, for example, they'd get him over us, in my opinion. That's if Coops goes. Paul says the first talking point should be our manager, then the players. I'll watch that on your channel then, pal. Sorry, that were a bit... I don't get this. I don't get this. What is the... I get the... do we not class this as a successful season? I know we haven't been promoted, and ultimately that was the aim. So if you're going black and white, that was a failure. But I am proud of how we've played this season. Could we have done better in certain situations? Absolutely right, we could. Do you think there is a better manager out there than Chris Wilder to lead Sheffield United? Yeah, just... I hope you've been brave enough to include Melier in these options. No, thanks. No. Cooler King says, evening, Jim. I share your disappointment as we too were denied by a dodgy decision on Sunday that has cost us a lot of money. We may now lose 2 or 3 of our better players. We just have to move on. Yes, mate. Yeah, that happened to Villa, didn't it? I know people point back to the Villa scenario in the Premier League and you'd have gone down if that, but you didn't, did you? So we accept the decisions when they go forehand against us, like we got one against us with VAR, didn't we? So it's where the cards are dealt into. Neil says players moving on to a Premier League clubs is a fact of life, unfortunately. Leeds losing Rutter at the last minute was a real kicker last year for us, but you get over it. Good options out there. Yeah, fair dues. Yes to Kaminsky, Woodman, Angus Gunn, David Bentley. All right, yeah, David Bentley, yeah. Where's he now? Where's he? Because he was at Bristol City as a number 1, weren't he? And then he went back up somewhere in Prem, I think. Oh, Daniel Everson. He's just gone to Preston, pal. No, God, no. I don't know who that's to. Hi, Jim, Leeds fan here. We're taking Hamer, and there's nothing Hamface can do about it. Game over, game over. We'll see. We'll see. I know some Leicester fans, and they'd rather have no keeper at all than Danny Ward. Fair dues. Fair dues. And I am talking about a third option with Danny Ward. All right, yours were for Danny Ward as well. I think the Blades will keep 90% of the team. Maybe him may leave. Cooper and Sousa should stop. I think the Blades will be champions next season, says David. They know how to buy good players up the Blades, marching on together. Jimmy, this back five, Cooper, Harrison Burrows, Holding, Darling and Dunn, likely? No. Why? Why on earth would Rob Holding come anywhere near us after the way he's gone on this season? I don't get it. It's something I haven't understood about Chris Wilder, who I love. And we don't know the details. I have to caveat it with this. There may be fitness issues. There may be other issues. You know, there may be minutes tied into the deal that are financial. I don't think we'd ever sort of stop playing a really good player because of that, because I don't think it's the way we're built. But there's things that we don't know. So there may be a reason that we can't give credit for. I don't personally understand it. But if I'm Rob Holding, I do not come back to Sheffield United because I don't think he's had a fair crack of the whip personally. But Harrison Burrows, Darling and Dunn in front of Cooper, yes, and just probably one other. And I hope it's not him. Dom says, we've still got Ivo Gerbic, by the way. What do we do with him? Completely forgot about him, Dom. And cards on the table, always do. Think that he will be sold, if I'm honest. Replacements for Cooper if he leaves, says Maury. Zetterstrom, like him. Like Zetterstrom, but he's a number one in tier. And is he good enough? Johansson, yes. Bill Kapovic from Peterborough. What's Sam Johnston doing? Or him from Watford, Selvich. Not seen enough of Selvich. Sam Johnston we've talked about. Don't know the Peterborough lad. Tom says we'll probably need a replacement for Copper as well. Bound to join Leeds or Burnley. Maybe a Brighton. Cooper to Brighton, you think? I'm not sure about that, pal. But yeah, it could go to Leeds or Burnley. I can see that happening. I don't want it to. And I don't think it will happen. But they both need a keeper, don't they? Dave says Gerbic has big hands. Could do a job as a bricklayer if you're building a new training ground or academy. Nice. Chris says league going to be tougher with Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton coming down. I don't know. You know, they are going to look very different sides to the ones coming down now. I think Ipswich have got the strongest foundation of the lot because they've got the least Premier League players involved in their side, if that makes total sense. So I think Leicester and Southampton will be picked off to a degree. I think Leicester might struggle a little bit, if I'm honest. Not struggle as in, Luton, but struggle as in, if it is Russell Martin to go in, who I'm not convinced by. But I wasn't by Farker or Parker either, to be honest. So what do I know? But I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that they will be great. I think they'll be playoffs, personally. You'd love Toff from Blackburn, says Maury. I ain't seen enough of him. Gabe says, I'd like to offer you Ilan Melier. Wonderful lad, very tall, speaks multiple languages, highly coveted, allegedly. You can have him for a £5 and a Greg sandwich. No, thanks, mate. No, I won't even give you a Greg sandwich, name and a £5. Freddie Woodman and Angus Gunn upgrades on Adam Davies. Woodman would be my choice of the two, and a few years ago was very highly rated. I agree, Lee. Right, okay. Because Lee's in the building, and he always gives a strong opinion on this as well. Have Melier for free, he says. Wasn't Angus Gunn in Rocky 5? Do you think we should get that Poku bloke from Peterborough? I think he's out of contract. There's a huge bidding war for him, mate, and he'll be on a big wedge. But if we're sticking with wingers, then that'll be part of a future bid that we do. Ben says, what about George Long? Been solid number 2, 3 for a couple of seasons now, and he knows the club. Don't rate him at all. Louis says, I like Angus Gunn as well, Jimmy. Very good goalkeeper. I said before the playoffs that if we go up, we should get him as a number 2. No chance he will play second string in the Championship. Yeah, I think it was you, Lewis, that said that. And you had seen it somewhere here that we're touting for Gunn as a number 2. And I agree with you. I don't think he will come as a number 2. Now, I would pick for Freddie Woodman personally. I think Angus Gunn is probably slightly the better of the two. But I think Freddie Woodman's a more solid option. as in somebody that would be happy to play second fiddle. I really do think that Peck could replace Hamer if he goes. He's got that great dribbling skills that just that end product to improve on. Don't forget we get Blaster back for next season. You're convinced we keep City, aren't you? Evening, Jimmy says Cole Faxon should be loaned out and Davo's backup in my opinion. Davies is still a good backup for the level. Coop shouldn't go unless someone offers stupid money, 30+ million. Well, I hope, Cole, that this is sort of played into that a little bit in terms of Adam Davies isn't as bad as some people make out. But I agree with Lee. I think Freddie Woodman or Gunn would be an upgrade on him. Wilder will know which players he wants to buy. If Cooper did leave, there's always Melier. Not only joking, the Blades will surprise some teams next season. Blades are going up, marching on together. Beast Boy says, I love the transfer window. Can't wait till we start making signings up the Blades, up the Ramble. Wilder needs to change his tactics, says Dave. We need to get in front and keep the pressure on, not sit back. Agree, completely agree. I have to say as well, I'm not convinced it's his tactics or it's his intention to sit back. I just cannot, and it might be, but he's come out and publicly denied this. And it doesn't seem a Chris Wilder trait to say, sit tight and see it out. It just doesn't mesh with his character, in my opinion. I might be completely wrong, and it might be a case of you're good enough to manage this game out. The counter to it all, of course, which Ricky's mentioned a couple of times on stream, is, well, they're clearly not listening to him then, are they? Which is another issue in itself. Maybe it's a confidence thing. It's a young squad. There's some young defenders in there as well with Sariki and Burrows and Sidney Peck's in the side. And maybe nerves comes into it a little bit and composure. Jezrak Saki were in the side as well. We forget how young Tom Cannon is. Excuse me. So there's all sorts of things, but I certainly agree that we shouldn't be sitting back. I just don't think it's an intentional instruction. Also heard some people think about 4-3-3 for next season. Davies, Blaster and Peck in midfield. Davies, Blaster and Peck in midfield with BBD left forward. He's not coming back. And Campbell right forward and more up front, or swap them two. Opinions on the Blades and Jim. I think all formations are on the table, to be honest, even a 3-5-2. I think 3-5-2 suits our current squad very well. But we've now got the chance to completely rejig that anyway, haven't we? So it's up for debate, isn't it? I'd take Chair from QPR as a punt, as a possible replacement. Would you bring Chowdhury back as a replacement for Sousa if he left? I didn't like him in the middle. I'll be honest. I think Arblaster and Peck are quite similar. I think Arblaster can do a bit of everything. People forget how good he was. How good he is, but how good he was for us at that time. Tom Davies, if kept fit, will be a really good crunching ball winner in that midfield. Can't rely on him to be fit. So I do think we need someone, if Sousa goes, in that mould of ball winner, destroyer, if you like. But I don't know if Chowdhury's the one. I do like Hamza Chowdhury as a player. I don't think he's done it for us in centre midfield. Him and Peck together at times have been poor this season. Lee says, obviously, I want to keep our best players, but if they go, they go. Get the best price we can and reinvest. Turnover of players always happens. And as long as the money is used wisely, it will be okay. I completely agree. Mogga says, Open L goes. Vinny misses 25% of the season with fitness and Gus is not nailed on to go due to his conditioning. Pizza emoji. It's a far smaller build than last season. Do you think so? It is at the moment as it stands. As it stands, it is. But if we lose 3 first-teamers like Anel, Sousa and Vinny, then we weren't complete as it was, were we? So, like, not a lot of us are confident in Jack Robinson, so that before. And then if you want a couple of wingers, that might be 5 because Gus is playing on the wing at the moment, technically. Still need a right winger. That's 5 first-teamers before you even start padding. So, yeah, it's not as grand a build as last time, but it's still tough. What's the SP with Harry Suter? Has he gone back to his parent club for injury recovery? He did in January, pal. Would like him back, maybe a swap for Jack Robinson. 2 problems with Harry Suter. He's injured for a significant amount of time. And we're not sure on recovery time. Even if he's just about recovered come the start of the season, he'll have had no pre-season. And there's some reports saying he might not be fit till like October time. The other thing is Leicester being back in the Championship. They will have seen how he played for us in the first half of the season. He's their player. Why on earth would they not play him when he was certainly top 3 centre. I have argued that he was at times the best centre back in the league. Connor shot me down. Joe shot me down. Other streamers have shot me down for that. Our season changed when we lost Harry Souttar, and we would have been promoted with Harry Souttar. I'm confident of that. We would have been promoted with him. So, yeah, big shame. But I think Leicester might want to hold on to him and see what they've got with him, to be honest, unless they need to move him on for FFP reasons. Daniel says, sorry, Jim, never want to see Robinson in red and white ever again. Can't defend, always loses his man. Don't be sorry for me, mate. No, don't be sorry. Danny says, we also brought them 2 young players in the January window and could be the surprise package next season with a full pre-season. Doubt it, Danny. Doubt it, to be honest. I think the levels are, it's a huge gap. I wouldn't buy an L for 4 million. If we get 10 plus, we've had their kicks down. Dave the Nose, he really knows. When I was talking to him about this, was saying, we'll be lucky to get 3 million quid for him. And I'm like, no, surely not. Surely we're asking 7 or 8 million. Because I think with Nel, like a lot of foreign players, I think the reputation goes before them sometimes. So I think maybe a League One, as in a French League team, comes in for him, something like that, and pays the money. But if we only get offered 3 mil, then surely it's better to keep him, because we're not going to sign anybody of the equivalent for 3 mil. I'd keep him. If we're only getting offers of 3 or 4 million quid, I'd keep him and let him run his contract down. So it didn't do CJ Egan-Riley any harm, did it, when he was coming to end of his contract with Burnley? That's just my opinion. Paul says, evening, Jimmy. Now is the time to find out how much brass our new owners have got in the pocketbooks. More importantly, how much are they prepared to spend up the blades, up all the rambles, like and subscribe. Take stock. The best players we may lose, Vinny, Hamer and Nel, were not Wilder signings. My concern is he cannot attract the level of player we would need in the Prem. We signed, other than Nel, we signed all of those in the Prem. So I think Wilder does attract the players that we need. He was the one that convinced O'Hare to come to us instead of Leeds and Burnley. He got Cooper in when other teams were seriously sniffing around. Burrows chose us over Leeds. Hamer turned down Leeds to stay with us. So Wilder is, I think, I disagree, Jimmy, and we agree on a lot of things, but I disagree on Wilder not having pull. I think that's one of his strongest attributes. I think he sells the club magnificently to signings, and that's why the attitude has been so good of the players this season, because of the culture he has cultivated. So I disagree with that, pal. Dan says, Kiefer needs to be 4th choice too. Just having a bully in the box isn't worth it. Kiefer Moore was great in the first half. Great in the first half and poor in the second half. Very poor. So it's easy when there's a eye-catching mistake, and it was a game-changing mistake. Let's not get it twisted. I think he's going to be scapegoated, and that will be fear on the stream as we came on afterwards. He'll be a good player for us. I think if we go 2 up top, he's either starting for us at the moment. Anyway, obviously he's either starting for us, or he's a strong backup to Campbell and Cannon. I think strikers will come good for us. Wilder forever and grateful for it. Absolutely right. Sorry, I've got a tickly cough. Chef Paul says, I think we'll hold on to Cooper, Peck and O'Hare unless a big fee comes in and their agents push them to go. I think City goes. Personally, I certainly think there's a big chance City goes. Hamer, Vinny and Anel are almost guaranteed to go. I don't agree with that either, to be honest. Imagine Hamer and Illiman at Everton. Yeah, makes you sick, doesn't it? But I don't mind Everton as a club. We've got quite strong family connections to them. So Josh says Vinny's all right, but goes missing in big games, I would say. I think that can be attributed to a lot of our players this season, Josh, to be honest. I think Arblaster and Peck have been, as much as I love Arblaster, I don't think he's turned up on the big occasion every time. You look at the Leeds performance, none of them did they? What do you think about the prospect of replacing Wilder? Not for me. Who would you go with? Who would you go with that's better, that can do a better job for us? I don't think so, personally. Hi, Jimmy, says Kel. Hope you're well and hope we keep Cooper and Hamer. Hope we don't lose any of our best players. Up the blades, up the ramble, up behind the ramble. Like and subscribe. Yes, behind the ramble. We're almost at 2K in terms of that, and we are also now, thanks to Glasby Pellets. Our boy Sonny has come through And Glasby Pallets will be the new lead sponsor of Behind the Ramble. Unbelievable. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. And it's just exciting times for us as a channel, to be honest. Or a couple of channels, if you like. If you're not already subscribed over there, there'll be loads of content coming out over the summer. We're going to be doing some watch-alongs with Jord Motson for the Club World Cup and the finals of the Nations League as well, coming up, because we want to play Match Bingo, and Match Bingo want us to play Match Bingo. So that's what we'll be doing. Great minds there, Jamie. I wouldn't mind us having a look at Jamie coming at Oxford if Coops has to go. Ah, there you go. That must have been just as I were revealing Jamie coming. Just came up as your third choice. I don't mind Sam Tickle, says Benjamin Baboon. Rich Todd says, Jim, as a Leeds fan, wish you would come up for you, but now you need to let go. Who wants to go ASAP and rebuild up the Ramble? Great channel. Thank you, mate. Luke says, hi, Jim Bob. I think fees for Anel and Vinny would allow us to make our own mind up on the future of Gus. Cooper stays too. It'll be interesting how data comes into play on our approach to the market. Yeah, it will be really interesting. Chris Body says, Argyle fan here. Where do you reckon Cooper is off to? Are you aware if there are any sell-on clauses if he goes? I think there is a small sell-on clause. I might be wrong, but I think there is a sell-on clause. Won't be loads, but he'll go for big money, so you could do well out of that. I don't think he goes though, pal, to be honest. He will eventually, obviously, particularly if we don't get up next year. I think that'll be definitely the year he goes. But even if we are to get promoted, I think he'll do well in the Premier League. So I don't think he'll stay at Sheffield United for an extended period, but both clubs will do well out of it, I think. I understand things have to change, but this sounds like carry on picking off roadkill. Got to be Melier to pick as your number one, says John. It always happens if teams don't go up. That's right, CB. That's right, pal. Leeds lost 3 top players last season, or team players last season. You just have to take it and use the money to rebuild. Lee says, I'm hoping your number one choice is not Beadle. Paul says, remember, people, we need to sell to keep afloat of fair play. Players from the youth team are 100% into that. In turn, it allows us to pay more in wages and bonuses. Good point, Paul, from Tex. Michael says, Shackleton, decent player, didn't get a look in with your lot. He's not a decent player, in my opinion. I think it was the first player signed because he was a bit of a Swiss Army knife. If you're aiming to get automatically promoted from the Championship, I don't think Jamie Shackleton is your man, personally. I'm not saying he's not a bad squad player, but I think I would move him on, personally. Just United says, could be time for Faxon to step up. Raved about by all the coaching staff and admired by other clubs. I'm content with losing players. We've lost better before and come back. There is plenty of talent in the shop window, so let's go shopping up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man, when do you think we will replace Adam Davies? I'm not sure we will. But this is just other options. And also, if you don't agree with the other options, then maybe we stick with Adam Davies and you're a little bit more comfortable with sticking with Adam Davies. I'll get through another couple and then we'll get my number one pickup, to be honest. 10K by kickoff day. Yeah. By the season underway. Yeah. 10K by the season underway. That'd be great, Daz. Absolutely brilliant, pal. Do you think we'll try and sign any of the loan players on a permanent contract? I don't. There's a lot. I mean, the one most likely, I think, is Hamza. But I still don't think that'll happen. The way he's been talking, it seems as though he's said his goodbyes, to be honest. Kel says, oh, by the way, Jimmy, congrats on the 8K. You deserve it. It's the best channel. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, up behind the Ramble. Thank you, Kel. Really appreciate that. Get Woodman, just so we can see more of his dad at the lane. Get Woody, brilliant interview. Ignore Victor. He went for the money. We want players who want to win. He did go for the money. That's fair to say. They swooped in quick, but the reason they got him so quick, rather than him sort of delaying, was they paid him the big bucks. I think he's on about 35 grand a week. Shackleton's high seat chairs are lovely, to be fair. Danny D says, only way is honesty. You were beaten by the better team. Stop blaming VAR. Who's blamed VAR, Dan? Who's blamed VAR? I think otherwise next season you won't even get to the play. All right, yeah. So, Dan, I appreciate your comment, mate. I do, and I'm not being funny or anything like that, but how does anyone's opinion affect how we play on the pitch? Otherwise, if people or me or whoever, if their opinion doesn't change on this VAR decision, next season you won't even get to the playoffs. What nonsense, to be honest, nonsense. But the and I'm not going to talk about this too much more. Congratulations to Sunderland. They deserve to win on the day. VAR, whether you think the decision was right or wrong, and more people now are probably saying, actually, it may have been interfering with play, then we were still 1-0 up at the time. So you can't blame that for losing the game. I know it changes the momentum of the game, and that's the context around it. We were still 1-0 up. Sunderland came out and were the better team second half. Sorry, Danny, if that's been misconstrued in any way, pal, because it wasn't supposed to be. That is what I said on the previous stream. And I think you have to hold your hands up and say, sometimes it's just not your day. And I think we are the better team currently. This won't be the same at the start of next season for both teams. You will strengthen and you will have a better squad than us. I think we've clearly had the better season. But on the day, in a knockout competition, in a one-off game, you'll beat us fair and square. Whether we blame ourselves, VAR, the tea lady, whoever, the weather, I'm not bothered. You beat us, and you deserve to go up because of that. We all knew the rules going in. We all knew VAR were coming in. We all knew before the season started that you go into the playoffs rather than the top three come up. Nobody around here on this channel is complaining about what happened. It's just we're allowed to also let other people voice their opinions too. Daz says, does your last know about getting back into the house, doing rambles in the kitchen again? One kitchen ramble. And what will you have to buy her this time, mate? Dear do. I'll be honest with you. David says, Gus has said he left Coventry for a bigger club. Now I realise he's not at the biggest club in the city. Sorry, Jim, but you defaced the shirt marching on together. You've put an extra R in there, to be honest, in that. Bri, evening Blades. Have I missed out, lot? Good to have you back, Bri. You've been missed, pal. I'd push Onana at United. I thought he wasn't exactly right, Tommy K. Ormy says, I used to like the kitchen table rambles, Jim. Thank you, mate. Paul says, Jimmy, if you do a retro ramble, can you ask Mrs. Ramble to paint the garden fence sage green again? Oh, yeah, those were the days. Well, there'll be some serious work going on in the garden because Paul of Wellstone Landscapes is on the case. Aye, mate. Coach work's done now. We're going to get that sorted. She keeps going on at me, pal. She keeps going on at me. Right, number one. I haven't seen any shouts to anybody who thought they knew who my number one was, but the name has already been mentioned. If we lose Michael Cooper, which we won't, I am confident we won't, but this is also worst case scenario planning. I've got to recap. Fourth choice, Carl Rushworth. Third choice, Jamie Cumming of Oxford. Second choice, Victor Johansson. Yes, he's expensive, but he's very, very good. My number one choice to replace Michael Cooper, if he is sold for big money, Sam Tickle at Wigan. And he was not my number one choice when I first was doing the review. But looking at these numbers and then doing a little bit of further digging, it's incredible, this kid. And I know he's in a league below what we're playing in currently, and that may skew some of the stats, but he's 23-year-old. Great age. Playing for Wigan. He played every game this season, conceded 42. The best on this list, better than oh no, not better than the main man, but better than the other replacements. Conceded 65, conceded 62, conceded 62. He conceded 42. 18 clean sheets, second only to Michael Cooper, which is exactly what we're talking about. Better than 10 clean sheets for Rushworth, 13 for Jamie Cumming, 14 for Victor Johansson, and a save percentage of 75.3%, better than 68.8% Rushworth, 69.8% of Jamie Cumming, and 71% of Victor Johansson. He's prevented 4.77 goals. Less, Victor Johansson's doubled that at the bottom of the championship. But those are incredible numbers for Sam Tickle. And you've got to think, Michael Cooper were playing for Plymouth in the championship. But Plymouth, and I don't mean to sort of tarnish them with this brush, but they will probably acknowledge that they are a bit of a yo-yo side between the championship and League One, or have been in years gone by. Sam Tickle could be in that same sort of mould, at that a similar size of club to Plymouth. So it's not too dissimilar from Michael Cooper in terms of growth at a football club. I think Sam Tickle, if Michael Cooper leaves, I originally had him as my number one backup, but that would have been if we'd have been promoted to the Premier League and just to sort of loan him out to a championship club, not have him as an immediate backup, but have him as a prospect. So that is my shout for replacement of Michael Cooper. I don't think we're going to need it, but there are options out there. So you'll go and slap £3 million down. Wigan will turn that we'll find that very, very difficult to turn down. And you've got to think we will have 25 million to play with if Cooper's sold. I think so. Johansson is Sweden's number one. No way would sign to be a backup. That's not a backup option, Chris. That's not a backup option. That's I was trying to be. Sorry if you've just joined late, pal, but it's not. He's down to be a replacement. The four that I've just talked about are replacements if Cooper goes. So that would be a number one shout. Paul Rogers says, I think Anel will go, as I think it's a lot of pressure from outside of the Blades and his mind's not been on games at times. I think he's also flattered to deceive as a player, to be honest, this season. Not been great. And when we've criticised him for his performances alongside Jack Robinson, it's easy to point the finger at Jack Robinson being poor alongside him, but that's a mentality thing for Anel to deal with, something that we have been consistent on as well. Has anyone actually asked Gus what he wants? No, not as far as, well, I'm sure people have close to him, but we don't know, do we? I don't go on Football Manager FIFA or Reels. Gerbich in Reels looked like a prime buffoon, and then he turned up to Bramall Lane and he looked worse than Lee Baxter. Oh, prime buffoon, I've read it as. He's prime buffon. Yeah, prime buffon, yeah. Then well, that's what highlight reels can do for you, innit, Maury? That's what highlight reels can do. Cooper isn't for sale, says Sam. No, he's not, but everybody, as the $1 Million Man says, everyone's got a price. Michael says, Blades, unfortunately, would be a buyer's market. You can't dictate the price of stars. You can. When they've got a long contract and it's a primary position, you can. We're not in a position where we need to sell. We will sell 2, maybe 3 big ticket players, but it'll be on our terms because we know the interest is there, and certainly the ones we don't need to sell, we won't have to. So I disagree with that, Michael, personally. Condolences for the playoff final, Jimmy. Really hope you find a way to continue the content with Connor. If history repeats itself, you have a 100-point year next year. Good luck, Blades. Thank you, Lewis. Appreciate that, pal. We may still be doing some work together, me and Connor, but we'll see. It's not going to be easy because it's not. Neither channel wants to force content. So if we do a scheduled, program of us talking about our clubs independently in different divisions, does it work? I'm not sure. And these are some chats we're having. Isn't Gerbich still on the books till 2027? Possibly. Yeah, he probably is. I'm not sure of his contract status, but I think he'll probably go, personally. Bryce says, help us build the Ramble, folks. Like, subscribe and share, please. Thank you, Bry. Really appreciate it. Great to have you back, mate. Great to have you back. Oh, we're 8 away from 8-1. Ridiculous. Thank you, everybody. Dad says, what's the sell on FIFA? Cooper, I know promotion was 2 mil, 10% maybe, Jim. I can't remember, in all honesty. I can't remember. I have had the conversation and it slips my mind. It was definitely 2 mil because it was going to double our initial purchase price if we got promoted. It was definitely 2 mil on promotion. I don't know whether that carries over to next season or whether it was just like a one and done. 10% sounds about right. It's usually 10 to 15 into it. Maybe it might be 15. Rich says, has any of your players had reduced wages since you were relegated last year? Money talks. Don't forget about loyalty. Yeah, money does talk. And yes, every player in our squad had a Premier League relegation. A Premier League relegation reduction in the wages. That Ukrainian right back at Plymouth is good as a good player. He doesn't want to drop to League One as well, so you could get him for a nominal young as well. Possibly. Again, we'll be looking at different positions as the closed season rolls on. This is just really the start of players that we can talk about rebuilding. We won't know properly until we get the retained list. I have to say as well, I don't know whether I've got, in fact, I don't think I have. Let me just see if it's on here. No, it's not. But I have got my dad coming on next week. He said next week he's going to come on, and we're going to do a bit of not a season review, because that's, to me, sounds like you're looking back at almost every game. But what we're going to do is look at the squad, how they've played this season,
And what I really want to get into asking him is who could go and who should go. So we'll wait and see what he says as well, because it's going to be called Talking Sense, because that's what he does. Oh, that's what he thinks he does. And he does, to be fair. He knows his stuff, does my dad. You might not think I do, but certainly my father does. So I'm going to get my dad on. We're going to have a chat about what happens now with this Sheffield United squad. The return list might be out by then, but you'd have to be thinking players like Jamie Shackleton, unfortunately, Reece Norrington-Davies, move on. These sort of players aren't going to be involved next season, in my opinion. Peake says, not worried about players leaving for Leeds. We'll have them back next season when we go up and Leeds go down. It's a yo-yo in it sometimes. But Leeds will be confident they can give it a good go next season. I say it like that to Jim, don't worry. Played for Man City 2 times last season. I like saying that too, Jim, don't worry. Played for Man City 2 times last season and just won the player of the season for the under-21s Premier League, similar to Gilchrist. Have you seen him though, Ben? Have you seen him? That was the question. Humour Vault says, are you going to be doing content with Connor next season? Yeah, I think I would certainly say so, yeah. I don't know if it's going to be as frequent, but yeah, we both want to, and that's the battle, isn't it? That's half the battle. I have got a show coming, a regular weekly. I'm confident in announcing it now. I don't know when it starts yet, but we're going to have a new weekly show with Callum Fowler coming, probably to both channels, but we'll wait and see how that works. So yeah, myself and Cal will be doing. I don't even know what I'm getting myself into, to be honest. But it was his idea to do like a Football 11 style phone-in show. So yeah, that is coming down the pike. So there's lots of exciting stuff coming to the channel, and Cal's channel, obviously, which is skyrocketing. He's doing a great job. Ian says, welcome to Leeds, Hamer and Cooper. These are the sort of comments you look back on and think are a bit foolish there. Bless you, says Morris. Thank you, pal. Lee says, we all get worried about selling our better players due to the history of selling on the cheap. The Prince started to stop this in terms of Bogle, and I'm very hopeful the new owners will continue the same. Yeah, I could tell you a couple of stories about Bogle, and I probably will do one day, but very far in the distant future, in terms of the deal that was done, not in terms of the player himself. I've been very vocal about Jayden Bogle. I don't like the move across to local Yorkshire and promotion rivals. I don't like the fact that he's asked to move, all this sort of stuff. And I don't think he's a great defender still. But what you can't deny is he's had an outstanding season for Leeds. And, you know, fair is fair. And he's had a very, very good season in a team that's dominated possession in most games as well, which suits his style of play. Be really interesting to see how he goes next season in the Prem. I've had a couple of jokes about he'll be crap and watch yourself ball over the top. He'll get caught out a couple of times, but it's for him to show that he's improved as a player, isn't it? And whether he can go into that league and really make a decent go of it now. Danny says, I'm not sure if many teams will go for Gus. He's not fit enough for a Prem team. How often has he done a full 90 minutes for us this season? And Nell, I could see going abroad, but we keep everyone. Interesting. Harry says, overall good, Jim. Wasn't sorry for Sheffield, but was for you. Thank you, mate. Hallelujah, Brewster of the future, says Ian. I think he might. I don't think he's going to stay, to be honest, mate. I think he's done enough to probably earn a contract, but I think he'll move on. We sold Somerville, Gray, Rutter, and only reinvested 20 million into this season's squad and seemed better for it. Exactly. Look, we've done wheeling dealing ourselves, to be honest. Okay, let me just get rid of you. Wayne says next season is bigger. It's a bigger season just because of the expectation after this season. No pressure then. Up the Blades, up on the Ramble. Exactly right, Wayne. One of the teams going down may well just do a Luton. Yeah, could do. I don't think it's likely. Nobody saw that coming for Luton, though, did the Bright, to be honest. So it could happen. We've seen that it definitely can happen. It's going to be really interesting to see, isn't it? Fred says, Jimmy, would you have Patterson if Sunderland decided to sell to replace Cooper? Plus, early rumour is Sunderland looking at a new right back, Wilfred Singo, but wouldn't sell Tri-Hume. Great show. Thank you, mate. Tri-Hume, I'd be amazed if Tri-Hume don't get a go in the Prem with Sunderland because he's been very good at this level. I'm not sure Sunderland will immediately look to change Patterson. Mr. Patterson. Jimmy Me Old says, Dave, it's not the 92 points we won, it's the points we lost due to bad tactics. Up the Blades, up all the rambles, like and subscribe. Yeah, but if we'd have won those 3 games, 3 midweek games that everybody rightly says was the turning point of the season, we finish on 99 and we're still third. It's one game, innit? It's one game that's cost us, and that was Sunderland. So it's tricky. It's really tough to take, Dave. Really tough to take, but we can't focus on what could have been because it's not going to happen now, is it? There's no one better than Chrissy Wilder, says Cal. Carl says, I think Rothwell would be great for you. I agree with that shout. If you could get it done, that it was fantastic for us. In the meantime, we'll look after him for you. Best of luck next season. I'll still be tuning in. Thank you, pal. Just to remind those who seem to have forgotten, Wilder said this season was a rebuild. Absolutely right. It was a rebuild, and there's no two ways about it. You can't lose that amount of players, bring in the amount of new players that we have done, and it not be, it's not a finished job, is it? That's the best way of putting it, I think. And certainly if we lose some good players, then it's a bigger job than it was already. So I'm being distracted by a couple more comments. Talking about successful seasons and Chris Wilder getting the sack. Just look at that Hull manager 2 years ago and look at them now. Exactly right. Jamie Dumpling says, the Platinum exclusive news today has ruined my day. Morris says, keep your mouth shut, you dumpling. Guaranteed you will be having a lot more fun next season than us, Burnley and Sunderland. Dumpling bloody dropping spoilers, half spoilers. Poku's off to Sunderland. You're right, Morris, by the way. Danny says Poku's off to Sunderland. Interesting. James says, absolutely brilliant season and should not be forgetting this is a Blade for over 40 years. There's no other manager out there to lead us than Wilder. You get a thumbs up for just me agreeing with you personally. People will disagree with us on that. I don't know if I can make my thumb straight. Oh, that's it. There you go. Yeah, that's just my opinion that I agree with. Not everybody will agree with us, but they should. The Saint, a member for 8 months, top man, says, Heyman to stay, Jimmy. I'm confident. Okay, I'm not as confident. I think, I don't know what percentage I gave earlier. I think it's probably 60-40 he leaves. Many thanks for the great support, Saint. Yeah, thank you, pal. It's much appreciated. Josh says, I know that Arblaster is back for next season, but he might not be the same player anymore. There's always that risk after a big injury. I think Reece Norrington-Davies is a prime example of that, unfortunately. He was some player before he got injured, and those 2 horrific injuries, that 14-monther, he's just not been able to recapture the same form. You'd hope for the lad that he gets a chance to do that. I don't think it'll be at Sheffield United, if I'm honest. 5-2-3 or 3-5-2 for me, says Maury. Careful. Chris says, evening, Jimmy. Defence wasn't strong enough post Suter to sit back and try to win 1-0 every game. Surely the players and manager knew this. Yeah, I'm sure they did, Chris. I'm sure they did. It's bewildering in certain aspects. I agree with that. Saint says, I don't think we'll need to sell anyone anymore. Faith in the new owners. I think as Blades, we're not used to having finances that are okay. Cooler King says, I get why you say this was a successful season because you had a great record and came so close. But from next season on, you have to redefine what a successful season is for the Blades. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, mate. Dave says, Burrows will be twice the player in a back 5. Sariki 2 if he's ever fit, which is all the point I was trying to make. Dave got absolutely annihilated. Only by 1 or 2. But laughed at. And I just thought it's a valid point to make because I think that as players they suit that formation better. Suter is the main target for me. And Nell 5 million top, says the same. Suter, same point raised earlier as the blaster point. Can you guarantee he's going to be the same player? I don't think we can. Suter said Leicester didn't even treat him like a footballer. Every reason to move. Oh, interesting, Bri. Not seen that. Not seen that. I have not seen that. That's piqued my interest. I like that. If Leicester are doing a Luton, we must go for Suter. We don't know they're going to do a Luton, do we? We'd like them to, and that's nothing against Leicester. I just want them out of the automatic spots and sort of picture. Let's see those marvellous Dollarinis. Nice. And he's not coming in, but I have to do what's right because I'm going to read his comment now.
This is a view from the mountain with a heart so pure it's astounding. Man, mountain strong and true. What a man, what a view.
Don't be putting spoilers in, Mountain, because we're going to talk about this on a 3MB. I'd take a few other free agents on decent wages. Done, for example, for the first window ever. Predictions are futile. We've not a clue the ambitions of the owners, and therefore it's very exciting. Yes, mate. Yes. 3MB returning to your screens next week, live on the main channel, The Blades Ramble. So thank you to the boys for agreeing to do that on a regular basis. Next season, I was going to say during the close season, but I'm sure they'll have holidays and stuff like that, so I don't want to commit them to stuff just yet. But from next season, it will be live on the channel weekly. Bryce says, help us build the Ramble, folks. Like, subscribe, and share, please. Oh, interesting. Let's see what we're on. Yeah, we're still on 808. The owners don't come close. Come to lose money. Sure, they will go for it, says the saying. Yeah, but surely every owner's in that boat, though. Riff says, Alfie comes in, and then something went on in the background, and we didn't hear from him for the rest of the season. Brooks was the same for a long time. Question mark over Holding too. What's going on with Wilder? Fair. There's things we don't know, isn't there? We can't just assume it's the manager, but we can't assume it's not either. So I don't want to be seen to be too one way and not the other. Interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, Brooks was in outcast for a little bit, weren't he? It was sort of out in the cold, not really being considered for selection, and then all of a sudden he comes in towards the end of the season and does well. I think he has been very inconsistent this season when he's been playing, but he's played well towards the end of the season. Alfie Gilchrist was rightly dropped, I think, at the time, but not to the point where he doesn't get another look in. Never got another sniff, really, did he? Apart from the odd game or two. And Rob Holding is the big one for me. Cooper's going nowhere. Everyone, hi. Wise thinking everyone, all our players are going, do we have a say? Exactly, of course we've got a say. Shackleton, lol. Any news on Jimmy Dunn, Jimmy? Jimmy Dunn, Jimmy. Just the same as, I think it's the worst kept secret ever, isn't it? It's not, or it's not done to, if you'll pardon the pun, but it's as good as, from what I understand. So I am fully expecting Jimmy Dunn to swap those horizontal blue stripes for vertical red stripes and a lovely double sword badge to match. Josh says, would you sign Borja Sainz if Gus goes? And on another note, would you sign Josh Madger to partner Tyrese? Josh Madger, very good player. I do like Josh Madger. I don't think striker will be our number one position to strengthen, particularly if we stick with one up top. We probably won't even sign a striker. Borja Sainz, I don't think we'll get. But I learned yesterday he's in the last year of his contract, which would make him an awful lot cheaper. I just think surely a Sunderland would take a punt in the Prem, or maybe Valencia come in, since Carlos Corberán wants to raid the Championship for his new Valencia team. Hi, Jimmy. If Cooper goes, I'd like Johansson up the Blades, up the Ramble. Fair dues, pal. Borja, yes, please, says the same. No, Jimmy, we do not want Beadle. No way. I haven't said Beadle. Beadle's nowhere near my list. Old Jeremy's not in the conversation. Don't worry. You people are killing my soul. Cooper's only just got here 30 million or no deal. Beadle is trash. I've not said anything about young Jeremy Beadle. Adam Davies is a solid starting Championship keeper, so really nice for backup, says TB. There you go. Don't mind that at all. Don't mind that. I would like stronger competition, personally, because I don't think he pushes Cooper enough. Whereas I think an Angus Gunn definitely would, but firstly, don't think he'll come as backup. And I think Freddie Woodman is closer to pushing Cooper. He's not on Cooper's level. I'm not trying to proclaim that he is, but that's just my opinion on it. Man Mountain says, our best players are contracted to the club, and if they go, it'll be for market value. 4 or 5 to sell or move on. Add 2 or 3 frees. And a couple of big money difference makers were away. Always positive, mate. I love that. And I agree with you. The big ticket players, other than Anel, who we could argue isn't really a big ticket player at the moment anyway, they're all in the club's favour, aren't they? Danny in Dreamland, Sunderland was outplayed. I'm going to have to speed up because I'm nearly 2 hours in again. What are we doing here? Best thing about Saturday was seeing Wayne Quinn in Box Park, says FX, and chatting with Nick Montgomery as we walked back out after the game. Legends, absolute legends. Danny, you'll get screwed over next season by every game and you'll be annoyed, so face it. This is Danny who was having a little nibble at the VAR thing. I just think he'd misconstrued what we said as a channel, really. I don't think anybody's blaming VAR particularly. And even if they are, it's right to be disappointed. My personal opinion is, yes, it changed the whole attitude and mood of the game, really, but it didn't change the outcome. That were down to us, who were leading at the time. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 10 next season, says Dave. Let's hope so. And that's nothing against Sunderland, but I don't want that 8-0 to be hanging over us for so long. Wilder's a good manager, but he's so predictable with the subs every time. It is 60 to 70 minutes every time now, isn't it? And the odd 1 or 2, but the last few seconds, Mr. Tickle. Yeah. I think I just revealed it then, the one, to be fair. Cannot entertain this keeper talk. Well, we're going to have to if he goes, but it's more about the backups, which we talked about earlier on. Who do you want to replace? Sousa? We'll probably do something about that, to be honest. Mr. Tickle says Maury. Mr. Tickle says Zach. I want Bob clean sheet, says FX Pilot. What you need, Jim, is all the incomings and outgoings sorted soon as will help definitely. Just that bloody late transfer window leaves you vulnerable right up to the last. Marching on together, mate. Also up the blades. Thank you, mate. Up the leads, marching on together, says Gary. What about his sister, Tess? No, Maury. Out of order. Did you not think to put Jags in your top 10 after the Bash Bash? Thought he did well, didn't he? He did well. I thought Paddy Kenny did really well for the first 20 minutes. Really well. Maury, be careful, says Bright. There you go. Chak Vitadze to replace Hamer. Good player. I'm always a little bit wary after players have one good season. So I like a longer. It's the old John Lundstrom syndrome for me. Would any of us have John Lundstrom back in the Championship now? I'm not sure we would. Evening, Jim. I would love to see the goalie stats with Suter in the back line and with Robinson. Yeah. I'm not a big stat man, as you know, Chris, but if somebody can get those for us, I'm happy to talk about them. Would you renew Brewster or Robinson's contract? Probably, and no. But that's just a personal opinion. Just a personal opinion. And if he does go, I'll significantly elaborate on why. Zach says there's another lad we're linked with, a 21-year-old defender called Goradiouf. All right, okay. We're going to be linked with all sorts, pal. Price says, no need to apologise, Maury, mate. I got the humour of it. LM says, do you think we'll try and keep as many players as possible like we did in the second year of the Championship last time? Yeah, I think we will. I think we'll be trying to hold on to players. Who do you think we should sign at right back and CDM? That's a more modern term, isn't it? Like defensive holding midfielder, that is for some viewers, to replace Vinny. Vinny's not gone yet. And there's no guarantee that Vinny definitely goes. But that will be something we'll talk about. Right back, again, something we'll talk about because we're mainly focusing on keepers today. But right back, we're bringing in Jimmy Dunn, I think. And I'm more than happy with that. That's unless we change. I still think we could change to a 3-5-2 and have Jimmy Dunn on the right of the three and Sariki at wing back. I think that sorts itself, personally. Dino says, Anel's not that much better than Robbo for me. Let him go for what we can get. Let's all get a better centre-back pairing. I agree. And we need goals. Strikers don't score enough, or midfield up the blades. Up the Ramble. Thank you, pal. Would you take Josh Murphy, and how much do you think he would be? Again, one season of doing well. And I say well, not brilliant, because I sometimes think he flatters to deceive, personally. A little bit like Tyrese Dolan. He has had a good season, and in some games he's been very good. But he's inconsistent, in my opinion. And if he does it again for a second season, then you can talk about him seriously. But he's had one season at the level, hasn't he? For Portsmouth. I'm not convinced yet. Sunderland look was certainly in they didn't deserve to be beat. They didn't deserve to beat Coventry. They certainly didn't deserve to win the final. Good luck for next season. Thank you, Steve. Ian says, Jamie Dublin says he's surprised Zetterstrom hasn't been mentioned. Yeah, possibly. But for me, he would be a permanent replace. He's not a number one, is he? He's not a backup to Cooper. He'd have to come in as a number one. And I'm not sure I prefer him over the 4 that I've mentioned, personally. I know early, Jimmy, but have you heard any good news from the club? Likely they're going to back Wilder in any target, says Matt. And looks like Hamer and Souza will be going at least 25 to 30 million overall for them. Nothing concrete yet, mate, but they'll back Wilder. I'm convinced of it. They will back Wilder. I've not really. It's been a very sensitive time at the club, hasn't it? So I've not reached out to any, and I haven't got. I don't want to sort of have it thought that I've got loads of contacts at the club. I haven't. I've got 1 or 2 that I speak to, quite casually, not always just club related stuff, and it's certainly not a vehicle I use to sort of transfer info to and from. I'm trying to build a relationship to a degree with the club. So, but I'm confident the club will back Wilder. And some of the targets have already been leaked on in terms of like Jimmy Dunn's the big one, really. The only player we'll miss is Gus, says FX. That extra bit of magic is very hard to find. Yeah, that's true. Whereas a dominant midfielder and centre-back are relatively easy to source. Yeah, that's true. Looking forward to seeing what you have in store for us over the summer. Thank you, Shaz. Plenty coming. No betting on wearing opposition shirts, Jim, says Bry. Would definitely get rid of Shackleton, says Zach. Craig says it's smart from Cooper to go to Burnley. Pope, Heaton and Trafford all got in the England team playing with Burnley. Yeah, are you a Burnley fan by any chance, Craig? We'll see about Bogle next year. Stephen Oddy says Burrows wanted more chance of more minutes, which you could offer. We already had the best left back in Fairport. It's not what team at season says, pal, but fair enough. Walton says I can see Hamer and El Vinny and One leaving. O'Hare will be in the Hamer position next season. Peck would be in the Vinny position when Arblaster returns, done for a nil, and maybe Sargent for One. Sargent, I think we'll. This is the beauty of it, isn't it? It's transfer talk. It's speculation. We don't know. Bryce says, help us build the Ramble, folks. Like, subscribe and share. Love that copy and paste, Bry, all day long. We're 5 away from 8-1 already, having only just hit 8,000. So thank you to everyone. We will hit that 10K, won't we? Surely, hopefully. Gav says, had a good crack with Sheffield United fans, but I'm baffled at how a lot of the social media fans think you were so much better than us on Saturday. I am a little bit, to be honest. Look, and there's a lot of neutrals that I've spoken to. In fact, I don't mean to clang, and it wasn't me directly, but some people have spoken to my dad. My dad's very well connected, and said the same in terms of how did you lose that game? It was so, and these are people that know the game and are in the game and are quite entrenched. So it's a popular opinion that Sheffield United were the better team on Saturday. My individual opinion is I thought we were the much better team in the first 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, much better team. Similar to the Leeds scenario. The middle was a little bit meh. And then when he made the substitutions, when Labrie made the changes, it were all Sunderland. So I think it were a balanced game, to be honest. And you finished a lot stronger than we started the strongest, no doubt about it. And you finished stronger. So I don't think it was anywhere near as. But other people see it differently, and that's the game, isn't it, pal? If Vardy moves overseas and Colleen is settled, then Stockbridge could come in for Gus. Dumpling, you tease what's going on. He's trying to get people to sign up, and I appreciate that. But rebuild, schmebuild, says Ab. You're always rebuilding. The more CW tells us this, the better his job. The better his job is. The safer his job is, I think you mean. Can't take him for one more season. He drains the fan base. Love the man. Not a fan of his current form. Okay, fair dues. You should go back in for Austin Trusty. Best surname for a centre half. That were as good as it got, to be fair. He weren't great for us, Austin Trusty. It was quite disappointing, really. Seems a really nice kid, but didn't play great for us, to be honest. We needed somebody a bit stronger. What about Oscar Bob on loan from Man City? Oscar Bob? who was getting in the Man City side before he were injured. We've no chance, mate. No chance. Evening, Jimmy. We seem to forget where we were at the end of last season. We're ahead of schedule. We need centre-backs. Correct. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, H from Steps. Hope you're well. Tragedy. You can have Jack Harrison. No, thank you. Plus, we'll have we'll have full backing from the new owners in the summer. We hope. We hope. We don't know. We hope. Quote from Suter on joining the Blades. It's just really going to. It's just really great to be playing, to feel like a player again. The 25-year-old admitted, and to be treated like a proper football player is really nice. Interesting. That must have been on his signing last season. Bryce says, I feel really good and feel fit. It helps massively on the pitch when you're playing week in, week out. All right. So, yeah, that's a continuation. Oh, dear. No, that's good, Bry. Good to hear. Chef Paul says, Danny needs to concentrate on getting more than 11 points next season. Personally, I think Burnley has the best chance of survival with their insane defence. 2 losses and 16 goals conceded. Yeah, a lot saying Leeds are best equipped to stay up. And I understand that point of view because of the way they've played and they've won the league with a bit of panache, haven't they? But Burnley are the most workmanlike side, and I think that will treat them well in the Premier League. But they've already lost CJ. They're likely to lose Trafford. If somebody comes in for Esteve, then that defence has been shot to pieces, hasn't it? And they have to start again. FX says, agree with you, 3-5-2. Mate, we've done right side centre-back and Sariki or Brooks as wing-back. Done on the right of a 3, says Lee, with Sariki or another similar player as right wing-back is an exciting prospect. I shall leave this for people to view. Daz says, Jim, defence is not going to be an issue as ATB has tapped up Toad lead boots. Excuse me, for next season. And Yellow Boots is on a free to partner Brewster up top. Don't. Would you take McAtee from Man City? Not sure Pep wants to keep him, Jim. Controversially, no, I wouldn't. I think he's a luxury player for us. I think he's like Raksaki was for us this year. Like, if we can get McAtee in the Championship, then yeah, let's not be daft. We're taking him, aren't we? I suppose the automatic no was because we were asking that question when people were saying if we get promoted in the Championship, I think you've got to take James McAtee, but we won't get him in the Champ, pal. It'll be a lower end Prem club, and I say lower end. It might even be somebody like Crystal Palace that come in for him. We won't get him. He'll stay in the Prem, I think. Luke says, good morning from Perth down under. Good morning, pal. We go again next season. I'm almost caught up to the comments. Can you believe it? We've been going over 2 hours. We go again next season. And there's nearly 1,200 people in here. Thank you to everybody that's joined us. We go again next season, more fluid and prepared. Absolutely right. Third time lucky me trying to read that, Luke. Thank you. Dumpling here, using burner since Ian banned me. Jamie's match day scran. Nice. Get to bed, mate. You look like you need it. Thank you, pal. No wonder he's banned you. Coming on just to insult me. But thanks for subscribing with 2 channels. I really appreciate that. Match day scran. Is that going to be a thing, Jamie? I know you were talking about it, pal. Is that actually going to be a thing? Don't tease me. H from Steps. Hard luck against the Black Cats, Jim. Love the channel marching on together. Thank you, Maff. I know you're always in here, pal. Appreciate the support. Thanks for tonight's Ramble, Jimmy. Enjoyed it. All the best. See you on the next one. You certainly will, FX. Thank you, pal. Tom Chambers says, get Tommy Doyle. He was out of favour last season with Wolves. Tommy Doyle, come on home. See, it's this sort of thing, really, isn't it? If Vinny goes and Siddy Peck goes, then we've got an awful lot of money in the back pocket. We're bringing Tommy Doyle for 8 to 10 million quid. A lot of people will be very happy with that. Tommy Doyle and Ollie Arblaster together in the middle. Don't mind that at all. And no need to sell any other players. Tom Davies is back up. Don't mind it. Leeds fan, I hope you keep as many players as you can. Just need to get up next year. The Premier's a better place with Sheffield United in it, mate. Thank you, pal. Appreciate that, Rich. Also, username is a bit of a tease for next season. Yes. More of this. Jamie is stepping up and doing more Ramble on the roads. That's the first bit of news. I'm going to blow this teaser out of the water. So I will be doing a lot. You'll be seeing him a lot more on Behind the Ramble for our Ramble on the Road series, which is our match day vlogs. Also, as part of the Ramble on the Roads, he started a match day scran thing in terms of he'll just rate his scran. And we've started including that on our Ramble on the Roads. He has got such a passion for his food on the road. There may also be a channel just dedicated to Jamie's Match Day Scran. Nice one, pal. Sheffield United were miles better than Sunderland on Saturday. Unfortunately, I think there's a mentality issue with your squad. You lose too many big games and vital points, a bit like Leeds, to be fair. Fair dues. No use me being on the pitch, Jim. I know, mate. Sorry, I misread it. Tanganga for me is overrated. Sorry, we can get better than that. I think he's overrated for the price we'd have to pay. I agree with that. Leeds fan from Australia here says, Josh, love your content, Jim Bob. You guys will be fine next year. Leeds had to sell assets last year when we didn't go up, but definitely improved the squad. Thank you, mate. It's not easy done, though, is it? I know you've proven it can be done, but it's not just like, right, don't worry about it. You'll lose your 3 best players, but you'll just reinvest and you'll get a Tanaka. And it don't always work like that, does it? You've done really well this year. So it does happen. Andy thinks it's a good point as well. Leeds fan in Portugal, wishing you all the best for next season. Take care, Jimbo. Thank you, mate. Poku on the wing. Would take him. If we're sticking with the 4-2-3-1 or even the 4-4-2, yes, Poku for me. Really like him. 3 channels subscribed, got 2 burners. So we're not really as close to 8-1 as we thought, are we? Still 4 away. But fair dues. 4 away. 4 new subscribers before I end the stream in 5 minutes, because I'm definitely going to be caught up on comments then. Do you want Brendan Aronson, please, says Steve. No, thank you, pal. All the best, Jim, says Liam. Look forward to more content from you and the boys next season. Up the Clarets, up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. Riff says, would you get in Kane, Kessler, Hayden and send Sariki on loan? Ooh, tricky, tricky. Then stay to rock around, it's trick all time, it's tricky. Tricky, 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 tricky. I think Kessler Hayden is a better player than Femi Sariki. I also think Femi Sariki's ceiling is very high and he's our player. So I don't think there's enough difference in it to say yes. The ultimate fence sitting answer is Riff. If we're sticking with a 4 at the back, yes. If we're going 3-5-2 and it's a right wing back option, I'm saying no, we stick with Sariki. Because although I think Kessler Hayden can definitely play right wing back, do a very good job at it, I think Sariki would also excel there, I think. I'd rather have Tommy Doyle than Sousa, to be honest, says Deef. A lot of people would. Not a lot of people would. I think Sousa's a better footballer, personally. I don't think many would disagree with that. But it's what you want in your side, isn't it? Tommy Doyle's got a bit of Siddy Peck about him, hasn't he? A bit of Tom Davis about him. Yeah, I think he's a cultured player. He's captain Man City's under-21s. Real good pedigree about him. Tommy Doyle would be a great signing for Sheffield United. Do we have to sell Jimmy Hock and the owners stand for? They can stand firm, Matt. They don't have to do anything. I'd be amazed if we didn't offset some of the losses that we're going to face. And some players will want to leave. That's the bottom line, but we don't have to. I like that, Sariki. Help us build the Ramble, folks. Like and subscribe and share, please. Go on then, Brian. 2 away from 8-1. This is great. I'll tell you what, if it carries on the way it's been carrying on and we're getting 100 subscribers per stream, I'll be on every night and we'll be on 10K before we know it. Thank you to everyone that's helping our channel grow. You're all a part of it. Whether you're United, which obviously it's predominantly a Sheffield United channel, but other fans are welcome here as well. Zach says, Cooper, Kessler Hayden, Dunn, Anel Burrows, Arblaster, so that's your 4 then. Arblaster and Peck, Czech Vatadze, Poku, and another winger, and Campbell. So you drop in O'Hare for Czech Vatadze. Well, Czech Vatadze can come off the left, can't he? Bit expensive, but Hamer and Vinny Sales. Got to get Callum O'Hare in there somewhere. Mr. Vancouver, a good crazy if you could see this, Zach. Matt says, I would love Tommy Doyle and David Brooks on loan. We're not getting David Brooks. He's playing regularly for Bournemouth, or he's certainly involved regularly. The winger could be Brooks, or any other suggestions. This is a marathon, pal. Well done, top man, Jimmy. Thank you, mate. They've turned into longer than expected. This was just going to be don't worry, we're not selling Michael Cooper, but if worst case happens, we can do this. And if we need a backup goalkeeper, we can do this. But clearly, people want to talk about. It's exciting. I think it's one of the most exciting times of the off-season in the summer for different reasons, obviously. We love the football. We follow the teams for the football. But I think there's so many conversation pieces because the options are endless at this point in time, aren't they? We don't even know which players are leaving, so we don't really know which positions we desperately need to strengthen. So we'll see. We'll see. We'd not get David Brooks, says Brian. That's right. Also, I don't think we're selling Nell. I don't see anyone in England buying him. I'm not sure about overseas though. I think he'll go, Zach. It's just more a case of, will somebody offer us a decent enough fee for us to sell in the last year? Because if Dave the Nose is right and we can't get more than 3 million for him, then I would keep him, because you're only going to have to go out and spend 5 million on another player to get a similar level. Leeds will get Hamer, I feel, says Geno. They might. I think there's, for the brilliance that you get in Gus Hamer, and he's a brilliant player, and I think he can step up to Premier League level, there are some flaws that will frustrate you. Zach says, how about Van Uwijk at right back? No. I think if he were called John Ewok rather than having a fancy name, I don't think Coventry will sell to a promotion rival. No, I think his reputation goes before him, to be honest. Does Anel have a sell-on fee? Good question, Jamie. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Please take Brendan Harrison. I assume you mean Brendan Harrison and Jack Harrison. No, thanks. Happy to take Hamer from you guys for 15 mil. You guys can play O'Hare in his natural position, win-win. We've been playing O'Hare in his natural position anyway, so that don't make a difference to us. And 15 mil's too low. Josh says 5 hours ago you mentioned 5 hours ago. I haven't been on that long. Report Gus Stay mooted to depart Bramall Lane this summer, but FLW's United fan pundit Jimmy of the Blade Ramble YouTube channel believes that Gustavo Hamer might stay. There you go. I've been quoted in Football League World. So yeah, well, I think I've been consistent in that answer. Tommy Doyle is a good set piece player and scored goals, something Vinny hasn't done, sadly. Different players, though. I think if you needed to win the ball back in midfield, you'd back Vinny off pretty much any other centre midfielder in the league when he's on it. He marauds back and outpaces players and just nicks it with ease. That's when he's at his best, I think. Did you have to pay 10 mil for Cannon? Yes. Who is Poku? He's a winger at Peterborough. Jamie says, when did return lists have to be announced by? I know last season took ages. You've asked this in chat though, haven't you, Jamie? I'm pretty sure somebody said 1st of June, sorry. Jamie, 1st of June, says Brian. I was supposed to be in bed by 10 p.m. as I'm up at 4. Sorry, Paul. These rambles are addictive. You're telling me I'm still sat here. Nearly 2.25 hours in. I'm going to end it now, though, because there's 2. Lol, Paul. And Bryce says, and again, help us build the ramble, folks. Like, subscribe, and share. Final count. What are we on? 8101. Go on, then. Thank you, everybody. This is incredible. Absolutely unreal. Keep it ramble, won't you, folks? Because we are coming back. I can't tell you set days at the moment because we've definitely got a 3MB planned. I'm definitely sitting down with my dad next week to get together on what he makes of the season, what he makes of how it's gone. Does he see it as a failure? Does he see it as a success? Obviously, he's disappointed. I can tell you that. That's no spoilers. But where does he think we go from here? I think everybody that's seen me dad on the channel before, well, I've called it Talking Sense because he is the MVP of the channel, undoubtedly. There's also Ramble on the Road coming. Probably going to drop that tomorrow. If you follow us on Behind the Ramble, that's where Ramble on the Road drops. But I'm also talking a little bit about my taxi journey, which is a video that Platinum Ramblers have already seen, but I haven't yet made public, and I'll probably drop that in the next day or two, just so you see my first day as an Uber driver, which was a side hustle that I started thinking that what if the Ramble doesn't work? It were a little bit of a safety net for me, really. Turns out Ramble's doing really well, and I didn't need it, but I've put too much money into taxiing, so we're taxiing anyway. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Let's just get these last couple. 1900 to go to you. Have to ask the missus. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. 10K in 10 days at this rate, says Paul. Great ramble, Jim. See you in half an hour for another 2-hour show. Right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to call it there. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blade.